Here it is. Now, I didn't want to make a video before talking about the interview that everyone talked about. So the preview, obviously, in my opinion, Andrew Tate was extremely... So he was like too quiet, too respectful, didn't interrupt Piers, which made him seem a lot weaker than what people are used to. I don't really have an opinion. I don't know what's going on through the man's head. Either way, he wasn't like super top G in that interview. Piers Morgan, honestly though, was an idiot, and usually when idiots talk, you want to let them talk because they're just digging their own grave. However, what is brilliant about that interview, in my opinion, it generated a lot of discourse, and I mean, 1.3 million people watched this. This was just released, and there's already 13,000 people watching that watched this. I bet this would even be probably like twice as much as the preview, and this is a way longer video. So I think overall, Piers, even though he acted like a moron, is probably a genius when it came to publicizing his interview. But anyways, without further ado, let's do this. There it is. Full interview, Andrew Tate, Piers Morgan.
So one of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate's misogynistic tirades have been viewed billions of times online. He's now been affected.
I love that he introduces him like that, even though technically that's what the internet probably knows him for, aside from like people who support Andrew Tate. That's what he's known for. I'm surprised he didn't even call him like racist as well, but yeah, it's like for no reason. But I technically don't think he's misogynistic. I think the way he says stuff will come across as misogynistic, but I don't think he's innately misogynistic. I think the way he sees it, men have a role, women have a role. The reason men like certain women is because that's how men are. If anything, you can even say if he's misogynistic, then he's also like anti-man, if you want to go that way. Why do I have extensions? Right, there we go.
Actively banned, though, from the internet. He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
I think everyone knows that it wasn't fair. He wasn't actually doing any real harm. I know there's the Philion video that says, like, this man is dangerous. There's some people who said, like, oh, we need to ban this guy. Let's be real. There's a lot worse things on the internet, on YouTube specifically, on Twitter, on Instagram. A lot worse than Andrew Tate and TikTok. And we all know the reason he got banned. I believe anyone who honestly thinks about this knows that Andrew Tate got banned because it's an unpopular, his opinion is an unpopular opinion by somebody higher up. And even somebody said, like, it might be honestly somebody who whose son works or daughter works at like YouTube. They didn't like it and they asked their dad to ban him, some shit like that. Honestly, wouldn't put past them.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate, one-on-one. He's the most famous man you probably never heard of, with billions of views online. At one point this year, more people were saying...
I know, man, if he has billions of views online... If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably heard of Andrew Tate. Especially if you have billions of views.
...that you Google for Andrew Tate than Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian. Former professional kickboxer, he was kicked off Big Brother in 2016 after a video emerged of him striking a woman. They now put...
And Tate filmed beating women, then making them count bruises in sick video. I didn't see that one.
Both claim was a consensual sex game. He's since made millions as a pornographer and casino owner in Romania, but it's his online videos that have made him notorious across the world, posing as a playboy with fast cars.
Of course, you're never gonna hear about the guy who makes the film. Like, if you watch porn, you care about like who is in the porn, not who made it, obviously. Same with like, you don't care about who the casino owner is. I don't know how he got into that business, but honestly, respect where respect is due. Because those two fields not only are hard, they're very dangerous to get into.
Cigars, weapons and cash. He rants about his often scandalous views on women.
Or instruct a female to provide sustenance. Cook, So I think...
And again, the way he says it, right, that's misogynistic. However, the way I think he's meaning it, right, and more like the way I see what he says is more like we all have roles in the relationship. Like in that relationship that he is providing the money, the vacations, providing the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want. All he's asking from you is to make the home nice and cozy. So when I come home, that there's food on the table, that I'm taken care of, that I don't have to stress at home. That home is my peaceful place because the world is wild. I want to be at home. I want to relax. I want my wife to take care of me because when I'm not here, everything I'm doing is taking care of her. Basically. I think that's where he was going with this. Obviously, the way he says it is extremely fucking like, internet explodes, and sounds misogynistic. I don't, the way I explained, I don't think it's misogynistic. He's doing his part. He wants her to do her part. It's a partnership. It's not, it's a partnership. The relationship is like a trade at the end of the day.
Sister is her husband's property, yes.
Tells young men they can get as rich as him by paying for his digital life lessons.
I have 100 business tips I'm going to teach you, which will allow you to make your own money instantly.
But amid a global media backlash, the net has closed on Andrew Tate. While millions still share his videos, he's effectively banned from the web.
It's kind of funny. Andrew Tate is banned, but like his videos are more popular than ever. And like in just people basically snipping his original videos or interviews and whatnot.
Facebook, YouTube,
but
Instagram.
I believe those people are putting themselves in harm's way. They can easily get banned because of it.
And Twitter and TikTok.
It's kind of like how people cannot Twitch stream with Dr. Disrespect, right? Whose name shall not be named, It's like he who shall not be named. Same thing, right? It's like you can't even like have him as a feature. You can't can't do anything with Dr. Disrespect or anyone who's like really banned from Twitch. You can't have them on Twitch anymore. Minimal YouTube is not doing that. YouTube banned the person, but they didn't ban his the content that he is a part of.
Fans, he's a misunderstood satirist and the victim of big tech censorship.
I would say, yeah.
To many others, he's a malicious misogynist.
I would say he's maliciously misunderstood, like on purpose. I watched a lot of Andrew Tate videos. I don't agree with everything he says. I definitely don't agree with how he says many things. But the general message overall, I would say he's not wrong in most of the things he says. It sucks. It is what it is. Life is not fair. But yeah, we all have a part to play. And he describes it in a very, media shocking way.
Right. I'll try and get to the truth. Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are undeniably deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show.
Sure.
I think you should see them for yourself, not simply hear what he says
are
about
they
them
out of context?
or what other people say about them. Tens of millions of people across the world follow Andrew Tate, and with a big following comes a big responsibility, as well as a public interest in holding his views to account.
I'm even though it's true, like big power, responsibility, and all that stuff, but it's like, man, I'm so sick of hearing that. It's like fucking Spider-Man all over again.
If outrageous opinions
Uncle
are read
Ben.
aloud, they can be challenged and exposed for what they are. If they're silenced, the person holding these views can become a martyr. So that's why I invited Andrew Tate to come in
I would
tonight.
say,
He
yeah.
joins me now.
The thing is, it's like, you banning Andrew Tate, you're just gonna increase the message. Not him necessarily, like, even if he's banned and he cannot say anything online, stuff like that, the message or what he stood behind might actually explode even more. Right? It's like you have a meteor that fell. The meteor only did like a bit of damage, but it scattered to so many places and burned so many cities. Right? It's like the meteor landed like in the desert, and like that wasn't a problem. It didn't do anything. But the shards of the meteor scattered and burnt Las Vegas, burnt California. I don't know U.S. geography. I know those two are kind of close, but it's like you basically just burned a lot of other cities but you hit nothing. And I think that's the biggest problem when they ban certain people. I think the safest thing that YouTube can do in terms of like reducing these type of like videos is not even like full on banning. Forget YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everyone ban him, right? Outright. Is hard silencing, which is like the silent banning that they do to a lot of like usually right-wing creators. I'm sure some left-wing creators also get it. I don't know the statistics, but I think silent banning usually works better. But you know, I'm not a YouTube statistics guy, so I can't tell you for sure. All I know is
Andrew,
banning is usually bad.
First of all, you come all the way from Romania to do this interview.
Correct.
What do you hope to achieve from this interview? Why are you here?
It'd be interesting to have a conversation with you. You've certainly been the subject of your own divided opinions in the world. There's a lot of people who would say some of the things you say are perhaps dangerous or toxic. So I thought you'd be a good person to speak to about.
A lot of times what he says is moronic. A lot of his takes are weird. However, this is the funniest thing. I think for the last about half year, I agreed with a lot. Like, let's say this. Everything Piers Morgan had to say, not everything, but most of the stuff Piers Morgan had to say about LGBT when it came to like trans people in sports, I overall agree. It's basically what Dave Chappelle says, what Bill Burr says, what Joe Rogan says. Like, yeah, in sports, I'm sorry, currently there is no space. Eventually they should make a space for just trans people and have male, trans, and female. You guys can do whatever you want. I don't think the two categories of male and female, especially because male and female, they say that sexes are like non-binary and there's a whole spectrum. Okay, well then the male and the female are two parts of that spectrum, and you guys clearly don't fit in there, so you guys can participate in your own whatever area you want, you know, of the spectrum.
I didn't know much about you before this year, and then I suddenly became very aware of you as the world did, because as I said earlier, you were the #1 subject searched on Google ahead of Donald Trump. Yeah. I didn't think it was even possible. Yeah. Why did you get some?
It feels like he's buttering him up. I don't know, like this, like already, like, and again, this is probably because of the preview, but it's oh my god, pause champ for sure. But it feels like he's buttering him up, you know, before he like slaughters him, based on the preview.
Suddenly so popular stroke infamous, do you think?
I exploded. I certainly didn't do that with magic. I've been on the internet for a very long time. I think in the world we live in now, as the other side, the people who disagree with me, as they get more and more tyrannical in their censorships and their hate mobs, etc., as standard masculine practices are deemed toxic. I didn't put a magic spell on everybody. I managed to accumulate a large amount of affinity with the male populace across the Western world, because I'm simply saying things that many men believe, think, and feel.
I think it's not even necessarily think or feel. I think the main reason why something like what Andrew Tate says appeals to young men is because young men right now are so much more confused than ever before. Back then, so for example, and I'm not condoning bullying. This is like a prequel to what I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm not condoning bullying. I think bullying is bad, whatever. However, when you're growing up, let's say in the 90s, basically before the internet, you as a male child knew that if you fuck up, all of your peers will hold you accountable. If you go up to a girl and you fuck up, everyone's gonna laugh at you. Okay? Now, can't really do that. That's bullying, right? Like, I'm not saying men are just going up to girls, whatever. Before, if you were weak, someone would bully you one way or another, right? Not necessarily always physical, but like if you were mentally weak and people knew your weak spot, they would keep using it against you, right? It's literally like, it's like you're taught real life skills as a kid by your peers. Right now, because of the internet, first of all, peers barely communicate with one another. Even like because I'm working decks right now and I've been outside and I passed by a school. There were 4 kids, I'm assuming same age, they look about the same. They're sitting next to each other and they're on their phones, not even talking to one another. And I was like, no, I didn't really think about it too much, but I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what the generation is right now, right? The communication between like kids is just not as much there, and you know, too much escapism from real life consequences, and let alone the narrative is being pushed by the media about the LGBT and all that stuff and acceptance and all that stuff. And it's like, bro, it's okay not to accept everything. You don't have to be aggressive about, but you don't have to accept everything. And I think Andrew Tate is a complete opposite of what is being told to you. And yeah, if you are currently not content, you're not happy with what is being told to you as a growing whatever child going into adulthood, and you're not content with what's being told to you, you will go for the other best thing. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. I'm speaking in very broad general terms. However, this is probably the best thing that the pickup artists in like early 2010, like 2008, 2010, whatever. This is probably the best thing I've heard. Men have to worry only about one thing, and that's money. Take it as you want.
Problem I would say is I want to play you just a clip off the top. This is from Joe Rogan, who's somebody I absolutely love.
Sure.
And I think it explains to me what
Who doesn't love Joe Rogan?
I presume my issue with you is going to be, right?
Correct.
And you have absolutely got the right to try and persuade me otherwise.
Sure.
I want Joe Rogan to talk to Andrew Tate. Unironically. That would be an interesting conversation. And it would probably be super chill. They'll both be smoking cigars or some shit.
But Joe Rogan said this about you.
My 12-year-old and my 14-year-old asked me about Andrew Tate. And my 14-year-old asked me, I said, he's a legit world champion kickboxer. I go, I like him a lot. Why do you like him? And I was asking him. And they said he says a lot of funny stuff on Twitter and TikTok. He f***ed up with the misogynist. Yes. Because if he didn't do that, if he just did the pro-male stuff.
Yeah, clickbaity.
So I thought that was interesting because when I've gone over everything that's been at the centre of the debate about Andrew Tate, I come down with Joe Rogan in the sense that there's a lot of stuff you say I agree with. You know, I've got 3 sons in their 20s. It's not easy actually being a young male in the modern world. And I think a lot of the things that you say about that can resonate with them. Yeah. The problem comes with the, I don't know, 10, 20% or whatever of your output, which on the face of it appears to be blatant misogyny. And when you couple that with your massive influence and
I don't agree.
Reach,
I would say majority of what he says is not blatant misogyny. The way he says it is blatant misogyny. If you think about the actual messages, I don't think it's misogynistic, though.
That is why the social media companies have decided to effectively cancel you. I don't believe in cancellation. I don't believe in censorship particularly. That's why I've invited you to come on the show. But I do think a lot of the things you've said are blatant misogyny. Do you accept that?
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appeared to be blatantly misogynistic.
Yeah.
I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made,
yeah.
If you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame.
Oh, no. It's not even like, I don't agree with Tate here. There's a whole like 12 or 18-minute video of him standing by the pool and like this is the video Fillion that Fillion made about him. That's like how this guy's delusional and all that stuff. Again, the way he talks, that whole part, the way he talks is very misogynistic. What he says, however, well, actually no, a lot of what he says there is literally like just like a media hype, a lot of like annoying things that people will find like enticing and will talk about. I don't think the way what he said there, he legit believes in, and he, purposefully exaggerated to oblivion, right? That's what I think, because aside from that video, I didn't even recognize Andrew Tate in that video. Aside from that video, everything he says does not connect with that specific video. At least to like it connects on some points, but not to that extreme.
Can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I've no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet. I'm absolutely not the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people misunderstand me.
But I think you've used this phrase of being taken out of context, and I'm not sure that is correct in the sense that it still comes out of your mouth. And some of the things
completely.
Some of the things
okay,
you
like
said,
what is that example? It still comes out of your mouth. Yeah, okay, sure. You can say something and then be like, and that's what my friend told me, and it was a super joke. But like, hey, take everything aside from that last part, and it's like, oh, you sound like an asshole, right? So it's like,
I just think are blatantly.
Well, let's do them. Let's hear them.
Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right. So you said this about Me Too stroke rape. This is probably 40% of the reason I moved to Romania. In Eastern Europe, none of this garbage flies. You go to the police and say he raped me back in 1988. They'll say, well, you should have done something about it back then.
Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too.
So, to this point, I agree and disagree. For this point, I agree, you should have done something back then. However, people didn't do something back then because the world was misogynistic, whatever. It's like women didn't have as many rights. Now, here's the thing. Even if women didn't have any rights or, anything like that, I feel like you should still make an effort and then revisit the topic. Obviously, if you were like also threatened and stuff like that, that's like something else. But I'm just talking about like pure, it was a rape, whatever. You go to the police, report it, the police doesn't do anything. You revisit it in 30 years in the hashtag Me Too. But if you just like come out, it's like, hey, this guy raped me 30 years ago. Well, did you report it 30 years ago? Hello? Right? It's like, if we didn't do anything back then, we will now, But so that's kind of like how I would feel about it. However, the hashtag Me Too thing, let's just say like this. Amber Heard.
Scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been a lot of high-profile cases where men have been accused of things they did not do without evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed. When I say these things, people sit and say that, oh, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence...
I would say yes. Rapists and child molesters are the only people, I agree, should face instant death. Some torture in between as well. I'm okay with that.
...before and just make up accusations against men. Even though
not vigilante death. Given, However, without shred of a doubt that it happened. Because if there are rapists in jail right now that weren't actually rapists, I feel bad for them.
...been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will is absolutely not.
What about a woman who was raped back in 1988 and goes to the police?
Then the man should face absolute and complete justice.
Obviously.
But do you understand that when that clip appears on TikTok as a clip, and all right,
as a clip, completely,
okay, but it's still something that came out of your mouth. Do you accept that when that appears on TikTok, a lot of young, maybe not as smart as you, young men, right, impressionable teenagers, will read that and go, what's he saying here? Is he saying that rape doesn't exist?
No, I completely. I'm not going to sit here as a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that one small sentence you've taken was from a 1-hour video where I explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that.
100%. Same as there will be men who will do it to other men and to other women. Yeah, you will always have the snakes. This is what it is. Think Mitch Jones in the Adriana context right now. Right? You're always going to have the snakes. It doesn't matter. He just said the one example in this case would be women have this power right now, the hashtag Me Too, and they will use it to deplatform and just basically destroy people's lives just because they don't like them, not necessarily because they have done something wrong. That being said, women who are actual victims should come out, should say what they need to say, and should get the police involved if it needs to be, okay? They need to resolve that issue. Yes, I agree. But the ones who are lying about it make it worse for the ones who are not lying about it. And there are plenty of those.
Balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content.
Do you think women are the property of men?
No. The point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most religious
world. So you do think that the woman becomes the man?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this so that we can get it in context.
Let's go.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions, I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
Perhaps the way the reason...
Again, the way he says it comes off really bad. Property is definitely not the right word, but you do hold a responsibility for your wife. I agree. Same as like your wife holds some responsibility for the man. You are both each other's property, not necessarily what property means. You're not objects, but yes. However, he is right in saying the man's job overall is to protect his woman and protect his child. The whole point of the man is literally to be a meat shield for his offspring. And whoever is the one who's gonna host the offspring into existence. And there needs to be some kind of trade-off. Now, the whole like religious thing, by the way, I don't necessarily agree with this. I just understand the mentality. Okay? The whole like traditionally the father of the bride gives the wife to the husband. The husband's family, so the woman joins the husband's family. This is a traditional thing. Again, I agree or disagree, doesn't matter. I don't think that's how the world really works anymore. I don't think it is the best thing. However, back way when, that would have been the best thing, because why? The father would want his daughter to be protected when he is gone. So he needs to find a proper man with a good family to shelter his daughter from the storm. Because especially back then, women didn't have a lot of fucking freedom, okay? So they would need a man who has a lot more freedom than them to protect them from the storm, to shelter them. So that's kind of basically where it would come from. Is it true for today's age? Probably not as much. However, in some situations, it still is. If you're a woman, especially an attractive one, leaving the club half drunk at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., whatever, and the streets are empty and there's no one there and you're alone, guess what? You are in a very bad situation, okay? Because anything can happen to you right now. Nothing good happens after dark. Let's just say that.
I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand it.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has
so
herself.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, so she's
still a sovereign individual. She's absolutely not a sovereign
property
individual.
means that the husband owns
the wording
is
sucks.
Listen, my friend, if you want to argue about this, you need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious
No,
leaders.
I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage, and I believe that.
That's not the question.
But that's what he's answering.
The father hands her.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
No, it's not even that. No, he's literally. No, it's not even like a politician. He's literally explaining what he believes, which is referring to this. You want an explanation to the word property. You want to say it's like, okay, I should not have said property. That's what you want to hear.
Because I think you're a straight talker, right? You keep telling me you're a straight talker. I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but not as property.
No, the property is
Again,
the word that
it's
other
the
people
word.
use when they ask me the question.
But as an equal partner in a loving union. That's what marriage actually means. It doesn't mean that when you get married, the woman is given to you as a bit of chattel.
Agreed.
So why say it?
But that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the question.
You can't blame people for asking you questions.
But he wants
Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said,
no. Of course you can.
Your
Of course, okay. He's owning he's owning the answer. He's explaining the answer, and it's completely in your right to say that's how people phrase the question. That's how I'm gonna answer. They use specific language. You wanna dumb it down to their level if you have to. Especially, like, I don't know if this was like a longest argument. However, in very long arguments, about the same point, you're gonna start dumbing down your language so it will connect and resonate with the person who keeps making the opposite point to you, because he clearly doesn't understand the context of what you're talking about. So you have to keep dumbing it down, and eventually you have to use the same language that they're using in order for them to comprehend what the actual answer is. Plenty of people like that, that's like, I just cannot have a long conversation with, because they just don't understand English language unless it's the exact language that they're using. Shit like that. That shit like infuriates me the most as far as like conversations go.
Don't blame the question.
I own the response.
Let me ask you a question now, and you say something, and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So fundamentally, all right. So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at marriage.
I believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
Right. I mean, see, that to me is misogyny.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But do you not understand why people think it is misogyny?
I understand why some people can be very offended by what I say. What they do is they take a point like that and they ignore all the other points I make the other way around.
Yeah, but that's why I've repeatedly asked you about that line.
Yeah,
to see if you've changed your position. But the reality is,
no. Why would
it's not about changing position?
He wouldn't change his position. That's his belief. The woman joins his family, like she marries into the man's family, right? Again, this is in this scenario. Okay, woman joins the man's family. The man has a duty to protect, shelter, and provide for this woman. Ergo, she is his responsibility, his property, whatever you want to call it. His duty to the woman is to make sure that she's safe and provided for. He expects from the woman to do her role. Now, we can view it as like roles and whatever, but again, what do you call something that you want to protect and you want to keep safe and like make sure it's always like it's taken care of at all times, that's like always in tip-top shape? What do you call that if not something that you're either responsible for or property, right? So like you can see the parallels for the definition. That's what he thinks about a woman. That's not a bad thing, that he wants to provide for her, to protect her, to keep her in tip-top shape so she can live her life to the fullest within the constraints of their relationship. Because he's also bound by that relationship to do certain things he might not like maybe go to work every day, maybe wake up at 6 a.m. and work for 12 hours in a mine shaft or some shit like that, just to make sure that she is comfortable. Okay? It depends on the man, depends on the woman. So I disagree with the language. I don't think this applies to today's day and age in modern Western society. However, in various parts of the world, this would be very, very true still, because they're not where the US is, they're not where the UK is, they're not where Canada is, okay?
I'm a full-grown adult and I stick by the things I say and I'm responsible for them.
Which by the way is fine.
Absolutely.
But what you did say at the start of this little exchange, you said, I wouldn't maybe say things the same way now that I did before I was famous. And
he agrees with the point. At most, he would say like, okay, I shouldn't have used the word property. Sure.
Actually, you've doubled down and said exactly the same thing.
On certain points.
So that is what you believe. And that's my point.
Yes.
I'm trying to work out, look, I don't know you. We've just met, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out who Andrew Tate is and what you actually believe. I don't want to twist anything.
So let
me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's
that's the trade.
I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But
I believe that men.
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not. No. It's okay.
Unless they literally buy them as a
slave.
Again,
that's what he says.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but I'm a Christian. I don't believe that I own my wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your last name?
I believe that there is a process where a father traditionally walks his daughter down the aisle and hands.
Why is that a tradition, though? That's the question. Why is that the traditional value? Why is the father giving the woman away to the husband? Why isn't the mother gives her son away to the daughter, to the bride? There's a reason it's a tradition. He just kept to the tradition. That's it. Like his belief is still within the tradition. That's it.
His daughter to this man.
It's not misogynistic necessarily.
A union of two loving people in a partnership. No,
and also
ownership involved.
Here's the other thing.
Selling her.
which used to be the case. Another thing is, no, never mind. You know what? No.
The father of the bride isn't selling his daughter.
No, absolutely.
That's what property means.
She becomes a member of your family.
Is it?
I think we're arguing over semantics.
Not though, because fundamentally, I don't believe a man owns a woman. You do.
Well, I don't think a man owns any sovereign individual. I don't think we live in the world of slavery. I don't own any men or any.
Actually, slavery's on slavery's like on the rise, but yeah.
Right. Nobody owns.
When you use phrases like property, that's what you imply.
I understand.
And so my point again is,
Yeah.
you're a smart guy, right?
Correct.
There's no denying that. You're smart. You're a good talker. I've seen a lot of the stuff. But what I don't think you quite fully understand.
No, I understand very well.
When young, impressionable people
I understand
who are
very
not
well.
as smart,
Yeah, it's
see
the language.
things like,
Yes.
I think my sister is her husband's property, yes, and you've just reaffirmed that belief. They think that they have the right to own women.
I understand that very well, Piers.
That's why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrase this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make.
Also, before that, what I want to say is, no one forces the woman, like what he's in this scenario. No one is forcing the woman to marry that man. Ergo, she knows what the trade is. She gets a certain life. She's not his property to be his slave, but she is trading some of her freedom for some duties she would do in the relationship. Same as he is trading some of his freedom to do some duties for the relationship in order for the relationship to work, right? In order to produce an offspring, in order to protect that offspring, they need to set certain rules between themselves. That is the trade. And because of this trade, some of her freedom is being taken away by the man, and some of the man's freedom is being taken away by the woman. I think that's fair. That's the trade.
The point I'm trying to make is, when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context.
But you
that
wanted.
was not my anticipation.
No, but it's still what you believe. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are
If
impressed.
you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this, and I wish I had.
That's like, I don't like how Andrew Tate is behaving in this one. I think he should be a bit more aggressive with his point. He's letting Piers be a bit too aggressive on it. And like, he keeps changing the way he says the same thing, which I don't know if it's throwing Andrew Tate off and like what he's supposed to say or something like that, but I do expect a bit more from Andrew Tate in the sense it's like to stop him, be like, no, let me. You know how his interview with the chick, like the date thing? I expect him to be more like that. Like he starts talking, cutting Andrew Tate off. He's like, no, wait, stop. I'm going to answer this question, then we move on. I do expect him to do something like that. But he's letting Piers kind of like control the whole interview. I don't like that too much, yeah.
And said it, I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that when
it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman.
Yep.
I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over
100%. Yeah. If I have a certain, again, if you have a certain responsibility to keep the woman safe, you're out of town, your authority within the relationship is to tell your woman, listen, you are not leaving the house. Not necessarily like, obviously you can go do stuff, but like at night, you're not leaving the house. I want you safe. I want you taken care of. Again, am I going to do it to my woman? Probably not. But I understand that sentiment that he would be like, listen, I'm not in town. I cannot protect you actively. I need you to stay away from dangerous situations. That's the authority, right? Now, if she doesn't listen and she does whatever she wants, he would be like, listen, this is a breach in our agreement, right? It's like business stuff. This is a breach in the trade. This is not what we agreed on. This marriage is not going to work if you don't listen to me in these scenarios. Yeah, so there is some authority. Same as like she has some authority over his freedom. Like I said, you're trading away some of your freedoms.
When people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. Yeah. So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have
what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
Again,
that's... Making, if you'll please let me finish at this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety of a woman. She was walking alone at night. And I was saying, well, I wouldn't let a woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand. But if I'm responsible for her safety and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the whole point. The father gave away his daughter to be with this man because she would be safer. What kind of a man would not keep his wife safe and then also disappoint her original family? Because that was the agreement. It's like, listen, you're marrying my daughter, I'm giving you her hand, I'm giving you my blessing to take her hand, but now you gotta protect her. And then she's not protected?
The two things are linked.
Well, you have authority. You can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should, but ultimately...
But if she decides, then I can't force her.
Right, so authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority...
That's why he said they're arguing semantics, because he just focuses on the one word. Clearly, when he says authority, that's not what he meant. She's not his slave. Like, it's pretty much clear. It's just the wording is shit. Wow. Good job, Piers. Like, I still think he needs to be a lot more aggressive about these points. And just, completely finish his point. Don't let Piers interrupt because it throws him off of what he's saying and then they keep changing subjects before he finishes his point.
Authority believes, the authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do. And
also, by the way, the government has authority over you. It can't tell you not to, except for during COVID, obviously, but that's what people were very upset with. Even though the government has authority over you, they can't just be out of nowhere, be like, yo, you can't go to these stores. Nope, you can't. We don't want you to go to these stores. Ain't never gonna happen. But the government has authority over you, right?
Responsible.
That's why they're called the authorities. A police car, a cop, cannot just stop you and tell you yo, you drop down, give me 20. Yeah, you don't have authority. I am the authority, though. Yeah, not in this fucking scenario, right? So again, how you use the word.
Well, I'm not gonna. If you think I'm gonna lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if I
just a different description of what authority.
If I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe.
Yeah, but authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
No.
I think you're trying to... What you're trying to do...
I'm only trying to get to what you think.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No agenda here at all.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You are not. Hello? Jesus Christ, lag. Authority. The power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. Again, a person or organization having power or control in a particular typical political administrative sphere. Power or right. The right to make decisions. Right? I can just take this part. The right to make decisions. Yeah, because it can also be to give orders, to enforce obedience. Yeah, but also is the power or the right to make decisions. Right? So it depends which part of authority you want to use. He's using his right to make decisions for the woman. She doesn't like the decision, she doesn't have to follow it, but if she doesn't follow these decisions, there are consequences such as, okay, I guess we're not together anymore because you don't want to do what I tell you, which is for your own benefit.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority of it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely. But the point I'm trying to make...
So you accept that?
I accept that
you used the analogy of responsibility.
But using... Okay, so here's Piers, okay? What you just said is authority is you have the power. You have legal authority, yes, sure. So you have authority over your kids, yeah? Okay. You still technically cannot tell them what to do. If they choose not to listen to you, what are you going to do? You can't force them. Same thing with Andrew Tate. He can't force his women. Your authority is only there to, like, yeah, you can give a command, you can give a suggestion, you can give an opinion, you can give, like, you know, use your power, whatever. But if the person doesn't want to follow it, then he doesn't. Are you now I don't even know what you call it, childist? I don't even know what it is, right? But it's like, no, you're just being a parent, and he's just being a good boyfriend or a good husband, again, in his way, in his terminology, right?
Responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are
actually really important things.
They're important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me
there
to
you
actually
go.
explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple.
Okay, I love that he raised his voice and became a bit more aggressive. Good. And he's not happy with it.
You're responsible for their safety.
He
so
closed
you're
up.
Authority to say don't go out at night, perhaps because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So we
you
agree.
said.
He has an issue with the word.
Semantics.
Yeah.
It's not semantics. And this is what I don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say. With respect.
I think, no. I think he gets why there's the whole misunderstanding and the whole uproar about Andrew Tate. I don't think that's much of an issue. I think that misunderstanding what someone says is not grounds for a banning. I think that's all he should say. People misunderstood me. That's not my problem. It's theirs. I should not be banned for this. Maybe something like that. Obviously not as intense, or as straightforward. But yeah, I agree. Because people misunderstand. Okay, and also, by the way, 14-year-olds watching Andrew Tate is not the responsibility of Andrew Tate. It's the responsibility of YouTube, and the responsibility, even way more so, are the parents of the child. Where are these parents? Why are they letting their kids watch certain things? How about the parents can go and, like, blacklist certain stuff, like don't watch YouTube or TikTok and stuff like that? Well, obviously they're not gonna do it. But you're blaming Andrew Tate? No. Blame the fucking parents for letting their kids be idiots, okay?
The semantics point would be, if we're saying
a grown-ass man pretty much understands what Andrew Tate is saying.
I'm saying to you, when you say I have to have...
Agree or disagree with Andrew Tate, I don't care. As a grown-ass man, you can make your own decision. Hassan hates Andrew Tate, thinks he's like a bigot and misogynistic, and that's fine. Destiny, here and there, you know, what they call Abba and Preach, understand why there is an Andrew Tate, right? And these are all fine. But it's not his fault. Kids are watching his content. If you're a 20-something-year-old and Andrew Tate is like telling you something like they're just like, holy shit, this is so far from left field, I never even thought about this, you're still not gonna react to it as poorly as a 14-year-old. And also, you're a grown-ass man. You're not the issue here.
Have some authority over a woman. I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed.
What if you weren't the legally appointed guardian of the child? Would you then not have authority over the child?
Guardian or authority over your wife or female partner?
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, when it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The authority is something that she would give to me. She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
It's not.
Piers.
Andrew, stop.
Piers, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety.
But do you understand the difference between having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission?
He has authority over her safety, not over her entire being. If I hire a security guard, he has authority to keep me safe. It's like, oh, listen, I need a security guard because, you know, my life has been threatened. Okay, listen, My security guard is going to be like, okay, from now on, we are walking in areas where there's a lot less windows. Okay, we are keeping away from public eye. We only go in vehicles that are like not convertibles, dark vehicles, so you can't see where the passenger is sitting. You know, yeah, I am giving, and he decides everything. He decides how we get from point A to point B. Yes, the security guard has the authority over my safety. That's all it is. So yeah, technically, what he says here is still correct. If the woman gives the authority to the man, she expects the man to protect her. That's why she is with him. One of the reasons she is with him. Yeah, she gave away voluntarily the authority to the man about her safety. But if she's like, I want you to protect me, and as soon as he leaves town, it's like, I'm going clubbing with my girls. Like, no, you're not. Well, you're not the boss of me. It's like, well, you told me to keep you safe. I'm keeping you safe.
To have authority.
Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And
yeah, but it's not like he forces women into a relationship like this. His girl comes into the relationship knowing that she needs to give her authority. And if she doesn't, the relationship is not going to work. He's not forcing anyone to do anything.
The point
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her.
But
that was always my position.
But that's not what you said.
But that was always my position.
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an 18-year-old boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand that, and I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing.
Even thinking about that without context, right? Even think about just that. I must have some authority over the woman in a relationship. Again, when you go on a date with a woman and she's not your girl yet, you don't need to have the authority. When you're in a relationship, the agreement is she needs to know full well, this is how things are gonna be. This is what I don't like you doing. This is what I like you doing. That's also technically authority. Hey, listen, I don't like you going out at night fucking 5 days a week, getting drunk with your friends. You're in a relationship now. Why do you keep doing this? Well, you're not the boss of me. Okay, well, then I'm also not your boyfriend anymore. Right? It's like, listen, we're going out. We're a couple now. I don't like you staying after work with your manager, you know, and just like shooting the shit and drinking till 4 a.m. What the fuck am I supposed to think as a man? You know, shit like that. This is from real life, so like no.
Okay.
And by the way, that is exactly why my last relationship last 10 years ago, they didn't work out because this girl kept hanging out with a person that I knew had the hots for her, and I was like, listen, I don't want you hanging out after work with this guy. She started lying to me. I'm like, okay, we are done. Like, I don't care. It literally became like I became nonchalant. We were just fucking. And I was like, you know, she would come over, we bang, and like I would send her away. And she became from a girlfriend, she just became a fuck buddy without even like me telling her. And then she's like, I don't think this is working out. Yeah, no shit. I don't care about you anymore because you crossed that line that I didn't want to, that I warned you should not be crossed. This is what it is.
Gee, go. I'm trying to work out exactly what you
I understand with massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by
And also, by the way,
would you change
the reason Andrew Tate's position on especially this subject is so popular is because I feel like there are more guys who've been betrayed by their women, not necessarily cheated on, whatever, but they have been betrayed. Like their trust has been betrayed by a woman. Like they've been lied to for no reasons. Like she says she's at home, but she's with her friends at a club. Even if she doesn't cheat, why are you telling me that you're in a club? Are you trying to get into a position where you're cheating? You know, do you want to hang out with your friends, not with me? Stuff like that. So I feel like plenty of men are getting, and again, some women are getting cheated by their men too. Don't get me wrong. But his whole content is for men. Okay, so that's so like I keep the context on that. Plenty of guys have been like maybe cheated on, maybe they've been lied to too many times, they have trust issues now. So this is very appealing proposition. It's like, listen, you going into a relationship with this man, like we'll say with me, I need certain control over some things, such as you're not going out on every fucking weekend with your friends to a nightclub. Why are you putting yourself in this position? Why do girls even go to nightclubs? Let's be real. For guys to hit on them, to feel attractive, and for guys to buy them drinks, right? Oh no, I just want to party. There are some, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of girls who just, yeah, I just want to dance and whatever. Okay, well, if you just want to dance and whatever, why don't you want to go with me? Why do you want to go with your friends? Only single ladies. Just saying.
Change the wording of what you said.
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure keep me safe. Like
I see. Now that Andrew Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
But yeah.
I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're
No. You agree with what he said. You don't agree with the lack of context of what he said. That's the issue here.
Soundbite from a 2-hour
Yeah, but you haven't been
conversation.
taken out of context because I read you the
He
entire
did.
sentence. It's very.
Well, you've ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
But
Yeah.
you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety, and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive
loaded
people.
question.
That's a loaded question. I don't know.
In general, yes. Are there 25-year-olds who are way more attractive than 19-year-olds? Yeah, obviously. In general, as far as like what the reference here to is a purity and stuff like that, yeah, they've been through less shit, they have less drama, you don't need to be their shrink, right? Yeah. And it's also, not gonna lie, I personally hate this, but the whole daddy mentality that some people have, the girls call me daddy and all that stuff, it's like, oh my god, daddy, and like guys like get off on it. That is not something new. That is not something that's like, oh, well, it's because it's popular. It came from somewhere. Guys always had that, you know, want to protect my girl, you know, it's like some, I don't know, some disturbing shit like that. So, a lot of 30-year-olds would still go for the 19-year-olds. Fuck, I would go for a 22-year-old. I'm 35. I don't give a fuck. Like, why not? They're way more attractive than the 30 to 40-year-olds that I see every day.
It's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking you?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm
Oh
asking,
God,
you said
the
this,
interruptions.
In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the
Yeah.
internet right effing now.
Yeah.
The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds
They've been
is
through
because
less
they've been
dick.
through less dick. People
Hell
say,
yeah.
oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can.
Of course.
A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times,
Yeah.
been effed and dumped more times,
Yeah.
more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
On average. Yeah. Especially if you meet her in a club.
That is misogyny.
Nice.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having
Specific 25 to 26-year-olds are infinitely less desirable than specific 18 to 19-year-olds. Yes.
too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
That would, well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can
Sure.
argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's
Okay. First of all, it's not even anti-25-year-old woman. Let me ask you this. If a woman... Okay, what's more attractive, a 25-year-old woman or a 35-year-old woman on average? Probably a 25-year-old woman. What's more attractive, a 35-year-old woman or a 50-year-old woman on average? 35-year-old woman. What's more attractive, a 45-year-old woman or a 60-year-old woman? Probably 45-year-old woman. On average. Am I being ageist? Am I being sexist? Am I being misogynistic? No, I'm comparing women to women in different age groups. It's such a dumb thing. And yeah, 18, 19-year-olds are on average usually more attractive than 25-year-olds. Why? Because, first of all, aside from like their usual decline and all that stuff, whatever science, okay, 21-year-olds, the legal age in the US. How many girls do you see in nightclubs? How many 18 to 19-year-olds get a fake ID to go to a nightclub? Not as many as legal 21-year-olds, obviously. Okay, what do these 21-year-olds do? Let's say they don't even get dick. Okay, let's say they are virgins until they're 25. However, what they're doing by going to the clubs all the time, they usually drink, right? They usually eat shit after they drink. They usually get hit up on by a lot of guys, even if they're not fucking. They might have a lot of options available to them. Meanwhile, an 18, 19-year-old might not be doing all these things. She's definitely not drinking. Probably, not definitely, but like less likely to be drinking and eating junk food at 3 a.m. Right? So just like from a health point of view, there you go. As far as drama goes, less boyfriends, less serious boyfriends, for sure. So no drama there. Probably hasn't gone out late at night. So less likely of her experiencing some sort of sexual harassment, sexual assault, which warrants her to put up her guards to levels that are not necessary for her yet, you know, especially in a relationship. Hasn't been betrayed, hasn't been cheated on, stuff like that. Yeah, there's more drama with a 25 to a 26-year-old than there is with an 18, 19-year-old. Like, there's nothing wrong with what he said here.
Misogyny, no, it's not.
Being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Completely wrong.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, then ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
is that
not.
But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think
that's not hateful at all.
a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful.
That's not hateful.
You would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I've just read out.
Why would I walk up to a random 25-year-old?
Because you say it in public on the internet and it's been listened to and watched by millions and
Bro,
millions.
you can say so much shit on the internet and not say it to a woman. It's like, I can say on the internet, yo, my paladin is level 70, fuck yeah, bro. Oh man, I can't wait to get to level 80 and start doing Wrath of the Lich King stuff. I'm not gonna go up to a woman and tell her that. The fuck, man? Like, so dumb. What kind of argument is that?
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to antagonize
But I think,
them. So, which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph,
it's not toxic,
is actually toxic.
It's not.
If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogynist.
No.
And I think you probably do too.
No,
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why.
Not even ageist.
You wouldn't say it to a woman's face.
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25.
Well, you're doing it to tens of millions of people.
They were doing the conversation.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Be honest.
I think
a young boy in his teens will probably find a 16-year-old more attractive than a 19-year-old. What? He's being misogynistic. It's like, if he said, well, a 16-year-old's more attractive than a 25-year-old, now he's a pedophile. But it's like, if a 16-year-old says it, that's fine. And it's not misogynistic, and it's not... Like, this is such a dumb argument,
young
man.
boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance.
Yep.
And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's.
Yes.
I think you know for a fact millions of them are digesting exactly what you're saying.
Completely. The entire internet, to a degree, I think any subject you can find, there's going to be a whole heap of content.
Come back to the Joe Rogan thing, Andrew. Is that a lot of what you say, I agree with.
Yeah.
Right? I do, genuinely. I've read a lot of stuff.
Except the way you say it.
A lot of the stuff you talk about, I think it's got a good point, right? So we agree about a lot of things. But when I read that kind of
stuff, that's what I'm saying. It's like bothering him up every time.
How much of that is you? How much of that is some act? Do you regret saying stuff like this?
I don't.
I would say the extreme stuff are an act, but it's still, he says what he believes. He just makes it more extreme to put on the act to get more views.
Do you see it as weakness to admit you shouldn't have said something like that?
No, I don't live with regret. I think what's happened is that like I said, long format content, arguments with feminists, arguments with the toxic masculine crowd, arguments with the left, and they're going to take a small clip, small sentence from ours, and they're going to try and paint me as a villain.
But I'm not left or right.
I don't know what you are, Piers.
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point.
And I understand.
I actually have no idea what Piers is, because a lot of his takes are very leftist, but some of his takes are very, like, I wouldn't say right wing, but it's like more conservative.
And you're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this interview, which is because you're a busy man. You're not going to watch hours and hours and hours of video.
Actually, I have watched hours and hours of video, and I'm going to come to the stuff where I agree with you, and I'm going to come to the stuff about your censorship, which I have issues with. So this is, it's a long interview, right?
Sure.
I just thought off the top, you said to me, and you were quite bold about it, well, go on, then let's go through these.
And you should keep going. I will sit here and stand by what I said. I believe that
on that, I just read to you there.
Yeah.
Do you wish you hadn't said that?
No.
I understand how it's been misconstrued. I understand how it's been weaponized against me. Do I regret it because it's been weaponized and used against me? Well, that's slightly annoying. Did I at the time mean what I said in the context of the conversation, which obviously you're not familiar with and the people at home are not familiar with? No, I meant what I said.
The 25-year-old women that just talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up.
Well, there's a whole bunch of context and conversation around that's been missed, and I
don't think I'm missing much context.
Well, I encourage people who are interested to go watch it.
Watch the video.
I've just read out 3 sentences on the
but you missed an hour conversation around it.
I mean, you made it pretty clear what you think about the difference between 18 and 90-year-old women.
I wasn't talking about myself, even. I was talking with a Muslim guy who was on the panel, and he was explaining how youth is very valued in most parts of the world, and why virginity is valued in most parts of the world. And the feminists were arguing against it.
Oh, so that's why he goes into this whole spiel about, like, these parts of the world are places where women have no rights. And it's like, because he was talking to a Muslim guy. Oh my god, bro. Just because the one person who was talking to was a Muslim guy doesn't mean that's like this whole conversation turned into fucking misogynistic places in the world like fucking Iran or some shit, okay? Like,
sitting there actually very much like you, a mediator between the two, explaining why in most of the world still today, perhaps not in the Western world, virginity is coveted, youth is coveted in most of the world and throughout all of human history. And I was sitting there making the point, explaining why in certain parts of the world they think how they do, even though it's very different to the Western world. So I was making a point, mediating between two groups very similar to yourself. The conversation has been misunderstood. They've taken this clip of it and it's being weaponized and used against me. I understand that because I'm now the most famous Google person on the planet. It's inconvenient, sure, but I'm definitely not a danger to women in any regard. I date women 25, 26, 27 years old all the time. None of them are offended by the things I don't think
you're a danger to women. I think the danger, if it concerns you, the danger is the influence you have on young men to have this kind of mindset about women. And that's really where I'm trying to get to what you really believe and how much you've just shot off because you think it's like entertaining and you haven't really given it much thought. And whether now you're a bit older and you've had all the fallout, whether part of you is thinking, actually, if I had, as Joe Rogan says, if you hadn't said stuff like this, you'd probably still be on these platforms. You'd be massively more popular, massively more famous.
No, he wouldn't.
Massively rich.
He would not be more popular if he didn't say stuff like this. This is exactly this kind of stuff that made him so famous. He became infamous, basically. Because what he's saying is not something new. People have been saying this for years, and there are plenty of other YouTube videos that are still saying the exact same thing that Andrew Tate has been saying. It's just that the way Andrew Tate says it is a lot more enticing to make videos and to talk about, and it's also more badass for the younger crowd.
So I'm really just trying to get to
also
on the blatant
he has a good life, right?
Stuff. Do you just wish you hadn't said it?
With great power comes great responsibility. It was certainly said before the great power came. It's inconvenient to a degree. However, like I said at the time, with the context of the conversation, I know that I'm not saying things which I believe to be detrimental to the world. However, they've been misconstrued and they've been misunderstood.
If a 25-year-old woman was watching this, would you say, I'm sorry for saying that?
No.
Well, I wouldn't want anyone to be offended by anything I say. But I say things that offend. And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
You're behaving like a politician. But hang on. You can say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you.
No, it's not.
So, as an interviewer, you're behaving...
Sure. Okay,
Okay, you accept that. Let's accept we both got on. Okay. So, again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments, would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't.
No.
I will say that I am sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, it's
No,
not.
I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old
Doesn't matter.
women are parts
It's a different
of the world
conversation.
where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a
They
conversation.
have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not
to have.
allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do
Nothing.
with
But is that the kind of
Nothing
world
to do
for
with.
women that you
I was mediating. I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I
God.
don't live in a country where that happens.
Yeah.
You're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying
No.
it.
It's not an
Is
excuse.
that there are parts of the
No.
world where this is fine?
My friend.
So my question to you is, well, do you think it's fine?
I don't think it's fine. I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
the reason
This
I
isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know
Oh my
what?
god, bro.
With the benefit of
He doesn't
hindsight,
think that the burkas and stuff is fine.
I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually
This is the funniest thing of
blatantly
the
misogynist.
preview.
And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. Now, I would respect you more if you said that.
Yeah.
I don't like that he said yeah here. He's like, yeah, you would respect me more. But like he also looks like he's not caring about anything that he just said. Though honestly, if he was slightly more annoyed, I bet he would say something along the lines like, I don't care if you'll respect me more. This is what I believe. I don't need your fucking approval. That's what I would say if I was pissed off.
But if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think you
That
need,
doesn't
That's
tell me
not
you
what
think.
he's
then
saying
you
at
need to
all.
understand why my content existed in the first place.
Yeah.
My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about. It's not a truth I created.
Hang on. You're doing it again. What do you mean that's a truth in other parts of the world? That's what you said. It's not. You're not talking about another part of the
But
world.
again,
You're
he's I'm not even gonna.
talking about what you believe is the difference between
Christ,
18 and
man.
90-year-olds and 26-year-olds.
I was talking
It's
about
your belief.
I was talking about what the people on the panel believe the difference is.
So what do you think the difference is?
I think the difference is age.
What's the difference then?
Well, then a 26-year-old's older than a 19-year-old.
And so you stand by what you said about talking to the guys, being to the club more times, being effed and done
That's
more
extra.
times.
Well,
You
I-
believe that or not?
No, there's plenty of 26-year-old women who have been with one man or
Yeah.
virgins,
Right.
of course.
you don't
Certain women.
I don't think that the age is the only thing that's going to decipher how many men and women.
Right, so if you don't actually believe what you said, just say so.
Oh
It's
my
not about not believing what I'm
god,
saying. It's
bro.
about you understanding that there's large conversations going on.
I'm
in
just
this
reading
context.
back stuff you've said.
I know
and
you
I'm
are.
asking you, do you believe it?
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
Right. You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
In fact, there could be absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever.
Completely agree.
So why say it?
'Cause that's what he believes.
26-year-old women.
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
Well, not really. I'm just trying to get to what you actually believe.
I believe that men find youth attractive in general. I believe that in the context of the conversation,
25-year-old women aren't old.
I agree with you, they're not.
But
especially I'm old.
they're about to expire.
I'm a lot older than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
good.
But
So
you
you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say, I don't believe that.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe. There's the sentence. Which part would you now say you don't believe?
I believe that 25-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. But you understand that the way you phrased it makes every
Doesn't matter.
feel
I understand.
a bad person.
No, I don't think
Oh
so.
my
I
god,
understand.
do.
bro.
You're not stupid, Ad. Come on.
Piers,
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like to
Oh,
any
100%.
26-year-old woman.
completely. And you're
Right? So you have maligned every 26-year-old
didn't.
woman with that statement. And I'm
I don't
simply
think
asking you to all those who
anyone
are-
can argue that on average, in general, if you live longer, you had more experiences and more drama and more bad things happen to you, as well as more good things happen to you. Just because you focus that there are more bad things that happen to you in general, overall, usually, that's not the real issue here. Okay, like that's... I don't know why this is a thing.
are not of the type of women that you've described here. Are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody
Do
who...
you lead a righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You boasted openly of having 6, 7 partners at once. So is that righteous? I'm not taking him. There's no moral view from me.
It's not like he lied to them about it, though. So yeah, what's wrong with it?
Simply asking you what you think righteous means.
I think righteous is living true to your heart and knowing that you're doing good by people, not snaking anybody, not lying to anybody. I know I live a very righteous life.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
How many times?
Plenty. I believe in love between men and women.
Real love, you know. Where
yeah. I believe.
How many times would you say?
Enough. I believe men and women are a beautiful union. I think we're slightly different, but when we work together, we're the most powerful force in the world.
How many women have you loved?
I don't know, Piers. A few.
Give me a ballpark. 5, 10, 20?
Let's say...
You don't forget how many people you've been in love with.
Let's say 10. I mean, I've been in love, and I certainly believe that men and women, when they work together, is the most beautiful force on the planet. I believe in family. I believe in children. I believe in...
If you believe in family and children and love, why are you single?
I'm not single.
Well, you're not married. That's what I mean.
Well, if I was married, the last thing I would do is advertise it to the feral psychopaths on the internet. So,
I'm not a feral psychopath.
Well, that
you called me friend earlier.
Can be debated, Piers. But the point, the point I'm making as a whole is that all of these.
Do you want to get married? Is my point.
No, but let's please for a second.
You don't, or you do?
Let's please for a second, because you've interrupted me so many times. I've failed.
Well, actually, I've only interrupted you
oh
to be
my
clear
God.
when you've
right now
answered a different question.
Cool.
Right
well,
now you're
on all these points you're
and you've admitted that.
On all these points you're making on repeat, you're taking these sentences and on repeat you're using you're weaponizing them against me.
I'm not weaponizing anything.
Yeah, you
it's
are.
Fine.
No. You're weaponizing the weaponizing, which doesn't exist.
Oh my God.
You said to me, "Come on, bring it on. Read out all the things that you think are blatant misogyny." All I've done is literally read out.
You saw that? Did you just see that?
The weaponizing.
Look at him. Look how much he's holding it in. He's like, they told me not to lose my shit with this guy. Someone told him not to lose his shit with this guy.
No problem.
But you said to me, "Come on, bring it on. Read out all the things that you think are blatant misogyny." All I've done is literally read out all the things we identified from all the research that I thought were blatantly misogynist, and given you the chance to respond. And the only time I've interrupted you is when you've tried to answer a completely different question.
Understood, Piers. But these things were said in large context, where often I'm talking about how, for example, on the same podcast where you've read one of them sentences from, I was talking about how it's a man's duty to die by a woman. And the guy asked me, he said, if 10 men with knives attacked your woman, wouldn't you just... I said, yeah, I'd stand and die. I'd never just run away, because I have a duty as a man. I must die on the spot to protect her honor and my honor. I'm talking about a man having responsibility to his duties. I'm talking about the old traditional ways of masculinity. And what happens is a few sentences from such a long conversation is taken and used against me.
I understand that.
So I want you to understand that I'm talking about protecting and providing for women. I'm talking about a man making sure.
Do you want to get married?
No, but we have all.
Can you let him finish?
I'm talking about
That's not a hard question.
No, but I'm talking about protecting and providing for a woman. I'm talking about a man being responsible for her safety.
I understand.
So of course I believe in men and women.
The thing is, like, if he answers that question, you'll move on to the next subject. So he wants to keep on the subject that he's on. That's why he's not answering your fucking question. Holy fuck,
Of course I believe in love. Of course I believe in marriage. Of course I believe in family. The idea that I don't believe in these things is crazy.
I didn't ask you if you believed in it. I asked you if you're going to get married.
One day, absolutely.
You'd like to.
If I'm not married already, I will be married one day. If I'm not.
Well, you might be secretly married.
I could be married, correct.
Why would you not tell me either way?
Why would I advertise to the feral psychopaths of the world who have tried their very best to destroy me for an opinion about my private life and the things that are most sacred to me?
Do you think if you said you were married, everyone would hate you?
I don't know about people hate me. It's about me
also, again, going back to the whole point of like him protecting his woman, guess what? He would want to protect his woman from internet psychopath. I'm not saying he's married or not, but it would make sense why he wouldn't advertise it, because his duty is to protect his woman.
I'm a hard target, but I am very, very protective of the people I care about.
Right. But you believe in the concept of marriage?
Completely. That's what we were talking about the whole time.
What do you think?
We talked about a man giving a woman away. Okay. I believe in marriage more than anybody. In fact, I believe in marriage in... No, please. Okay. I believe in marriage in the traditional sense. I believe a man has a duty to stand up and be a real man. I believe that the problem with the world today that we are facing is that not enough men are sticking to the age-old ways of masculinity. I believe that me standing up and saying a man must protect a woman and provide for her, so he needs to make sure...
That whole XQC video of like, well, if my woman is a better shot than me, it's like, bro, shut the fuck up, man. You're not letting your woman walk in front of you because she's a better fucking shot. Who gives a shit if she's a better shot? Fuck, man. Unless you're helpless, you don't have legs and arms, then yeah, okay, sure, maybe the woman can protect you. But even then, you'll be barking at least.
That she's safe. He needs a degree of authority to protect her.
I have no problem with...
but people do have a problem with it.
There it is.
And that's
there
what we're
it
in
is.
now.
I'm over here.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with what you just said. here's where my problem comes, right? There are a lot
I'm
of
over
clips
here.
of you floating around on the internet, as you know.
Andrew, I'm
One of
over
them
here.
has you saying,
Stuck to the camera.
bang out the machete, boom in her face, grip her by the neck, shut up, bitch. In another, you say, slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex. When people see those clips and hear you say those things...
Agreed.
Well, I don't think
Sir,
that...
what?
It's not hard to misunderstand it.
It is.
You might
It
say
is.
that it's consensual. Other people would say, whether it's consensual or not, that's a very ugly way to talk about women.
Bro,
Completely.
have
Now,
you not done like what? Watch a porno. They will talk way worse than this, and that's an act. What makes you believe he wasn't acting at that point? Maybe they're doing like some sex acting, you know, whatever it's called, when you do like role plays and shit during sex.
Hitting them with machetes.
I don't know what this is
No,
about.
watch the whole video. It's a girl coming at me with a machete and me saying, here, slap the machete out of her hand. She's
understand.
attacking me.
I
So you don't understand. This is the exact point.
I do understand.
No, people don't watch them in full. And this is actually what's interesting. And please don't interrupt me on this point. Social media has changed in modern times. YouTube 5 years ago was 5, 6, 7, 8 minute long videos. Now we have TikTok, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, YouTube shorts, Instagram stories. Now anything you produce that's long form is cut down to very, very short form. They're interested in clicks, they're interested in engagement. They find the most controversial clips they can on purpose.
You benefited from all that.
Everybody benefits from social media views, as do you.
Was it the Hustler? What is it?
I had an online school
called
Hustlers University.
Right. And their whole job is to promote your clips, make you rich and famous. So you benefited from this system.
Yeah.
And you now profess to
Okay, just because the system is there and like recognizing that it's bad doesn't mean you can't benefit from it. Plenty of people think capitalism is bad. Meanwhile, a lot of people are benefiting from capitalism, especially the ones who say that it's bad. Socialists on Twitch, not gonna name anyone, but let's be real, are benefiting a lot from capitalism. Do you say them not to partake in the fucking pool of money that is thrown in front of them? That's crazy.
Hey, you benefited from
I never said I hated
you
it.
clickbaited like the best of them.
I never said I hated it. I'm saying what happened. I don't hate it. I don't hate social media. I think it's a very powerful force. I don't hate the social media. I'm saying
the point is, I think
there's a problem with it.
You can talk to girlfriends of yours, maybe a secret wife. I don't know. It's entirely up to you. Or two. Maybe you've got 10 wives. That's your business. I don't care, right? My only thing is, I don't care what you do in private. If it's consensual between you and another woman,
you don't.
You do what you like, right? It's your life. I believe in freedom and liberty. It's when you say it in public, it's the influence that this kind of thing has on young men.
Agreed.
Right? And I speak with someone with 3 sons, right? Who are, by the way, they're intrigued by you. They're fascinated, right? You're a big thing in that world of TikTok.
Yeah, he's just the next Dan Bilzerian, whatever, right?
And so on. So they all are aware of you and what you say. So they're all looking. And when they see things like the machete thing, I get the context because I'm a 57-year-old guy who's been around the block
Didn't
a bit,
seem like
and I can get what you said and you responding to a particular scenario which you'd created where a woman...
But it can be misunderstood.
I understand. So my point to you is, given that you know it can be misunderstood, do you regret saying things like this on camera where it can be disseminated by less intelligent young males who think that is actually what they should be doing to women?
And finally, we get to the point of the issue, which is the point I tried to make at the very beginning. When I made a video before I was famous that got 500 views, me being concerned that 1% of people would misunderstand it was not relevant. Where you start getting 5 million views a video, 50 million views a video, 1% of people misunderstanding
it change what
becomes no, it doesn't. But it becomes a much larger problem.
So
with great fame comes great responsibility.
Right.
So
I agree.
Would I now that I'm famous? Do I say things the same way as I did back before I was famous? Absolutely not.
Right.
As neither would you or nearly any other famous person on the planet.
So
once you become famous, you have to be a lot more careful with how you say things.
I understand. So my logical follow-up to that remains: do you regret then saying it the way you said it?
I can't live in regret by saying something before I was famous on a camera which barely anybody watched, and then I became famous afterwards. That would be a very asinine way to view the world.
Do you stand by all those things?
I can't live in regret because I didn't know I was going to become the most famous man on the planet. That regret would be the wrong word. Is it inconvenient? Sure. But I can't sit here and say, I wish I knew 6 years ago I'd be the most famous man on the planet and monitored all of my speech forever. That's asinine.
You see, but one of the problems that people have with you is that they think you have a malevolent influence on young people. This was the excuse that was put out by the big...
Excuse being the key word.
Well, it may be, actually. You know, I intrinsically, I have a problem with censorship. I don't think Donald Trump should be banned from Twitter, for example, because the Ayatollah of Iran remains on Twitter and other social media platforms.
Sure, I agree.
Whatever I think of you, you're not the Ayatollah of Iran. right? So to me, there's got to be perspective here, and I don't understand the inconsistency by what companies like Twitter, how they treat the leader of Iran, and someone like you. It seems to me they're much more draconian on people like you.
Yeah, it's some conversation since
people who
Trump
perhaps should not be allowed platforms. But generally, I don't really agree with no platforming people. But I think what's interesting talking to you is it seems to me like you have gone on a bit of a journey of self-awareness about the impact of some of the stuff you said in the past, and you have said you wouldn't say it again in the same way. Now, you may not want to express regret for that, but it shows me that at the very least, you have evolved to somebody who recognizes...
Yeah, it's not regret. It's insight. It's responsibility for his words more so than he had before. It's not necessarily like he's regrets it says, let alone, especially if the regret, the things that he said before he was famous are the things that made him famous. Like, he can't regret it. Like, what do you mean? Like, take it back, then I'm not famous. Everything has like a purpose. Everything is a plus or a minus.
As a professional and as an adult, it would be stupid for me to sit here and say that now that I'm the most famous man on the planet, my words do not have more impact than they did before.
Yeah.
With impact, with power comes responsibility, and things need to be worded in a very careful way. Now, when I do a long format interview, I have to sit there and consciously understand that any 10 seconds of that can be cut and used against me. So I have to be a lot more careful with how I say my words and how I construct my sentences. Of course, we agree with all of that. That's exactly what's happened to me. I agree with all of that. I don't want to be seen as a negative influence in the world. I know that there's a whole bunch of men. I get thousands of emails a week from men whose lives I've saved. I get thousands of emails a week from men who are on the verge of suicide and I've saved their lives. We're talking about...
And by the way, I don't dispute that at all. You have almost certainly, I would think, from everything I've read about you, I think you have certainly been probably able to be very helpful to young men who have really struggled for self-confidence and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm completely prepared to accept
I see that.
But there was also, I think, quite a disturbing piece that BuzzFeed did.
Oh,
and it
God.
talked about the negative impact of young, impressionable male minds when they've read or seen some of the more inflammatory things you've said. And they quoted, for example...
Not just hymns, but like plenty of other red pill stuff, yeah.
Sandy, 22, from Washington. My father's gone from a man who minored in women's studies in college, who was kind and in touch with his emotions, treated all people, men and women around him, with kindness, to a man who says that whenever he sees an effeminate male stranger, he gets an overwhelming urge to murder them. He loves podcasts. He listens to podcasts. I know he's listened to Andrew Tate.
Whoa. Let's stop for a second.
That's a big fucking change. Now, here's the thing. That person, most likely what happened is he was forced to be emotional and kind and all that stuff, and he hated himself for it. That's why he probably blew up to the complete opposite and just hating people who are acting like that.
And let's be professional here, Piers, because you're a professional as am I. First, she said, did you say that my father went? She said, my father has gone.
Father.
That's a full-grown man, firstly. So we're talking about my impact on children. You're just talking about a full-grown man here.
Yeah.
Secondly, I've never talked about murdering effeminate men in anything online ever.
Yeah.
In any context ever.
True.
So I don't know why they have taken some random person I've never met in the world who's full-grown, an adult, and come to their own conclusions who I've never met and lumped his name in with mine. That is absolutely unfair on every level. I didn't read this BuzzFeed. I didn't read this BuzzFeed article, but after hearing the first point, I know it's trash. That is complete garbage.
But that's BuzzFeed.
I'm the reason this man believes what he believes.
I've seen a quote from you, and you can tell me what you feel here about this.
Sure.
You talk about people don't want to see men dressed up in dresses. Transgender.
That's not exactly what I said.
What did you say?
I said the reason I am so popular,
I'm
so famous, is that there's a large.
I'm surprised he remembers exactly what he said. Holy fuck, man.
Contingent of men who don't want to wear makeup, who still want to make money, go to the gym, be strong, drive a fast car, be traditionally masculine, and don't want to be shamed for that, and they don't want to be called toxic for that. That is the reason I'm so massively famous. That is what I said.
What do you think of transgender people?
That's nothing to do with me. I'm not transgender, and I don't understand the issue like they do. They
Are you transphobic? Do you consider yourself that?
Transphobic? What? Afraid?
Kind of, yeah.
I don't live in fear, my friend. I have no problem.
You have a dislike of transgender people?
I don't know any transgender people.
Do you have a dislike of what they stand for, what they are?
No. Why would I?
I don't know.
That's not my issue.
The whole point is like the thing that people have an issue with the trans people and all that stuff is when it's being pushed onto people that don't care for it. It's like, why do I have to care for it? Not my problem. It's your issue. You deal with it. I don't care. You want me to say that guy is a girl, I don't care. For you, yeah, sure, because I don't want to care. I don't want to be a part of this whole conversation. Therefore, hey, this chick is a dude, fine, that's cool, it's a dude. I'm not gonna make out with him or her. I'm not gonna have sex with him or her. I'm not gonna have any relationship with him or her. If he's from my friend's company, I will be nice because I'm a decent human being. Are we gonna be best friends? Maybe. I'm not gonna judge them based on like this thing. Probably not, because probably our ideals on the world, our views on certain things are probably not gonna align. And that's fine. That doesn't mean I'm transphobic. It's not my problem. You're a grown-ass man, do whatever you want. However, if I have a kid, guess what? This is where the issue really hits up. If you have a child and he goes to school and he's being taught that it's okay, you should pretend to be somebody you're not, just to see how you feel. What? Pretend to be somebody I'm not to see how I feel? Maybe like that would be it? Give me a break.
That's not my issue. And that's actually quite interesting, because when I was attacked, a lot of these stupid articles like BuzzFeed, because it's ridiculous, that first point proves anyone with a brain knows that that's garbage. When they attacked me, they lump a whole bunch of things in together. They say misogynistic, racist, transphobic. They just put them all together around. I'm mixed race.
By the way,
I don't know where they get these. They just get these buzzwords and put them in a sentence.
By the way, I completely agree.
It's crazy.
And I've had the same thing done to me.
Okay.
And I'm not calling you anything. I'm asking you what you personally believe you are.
It's not an issue I discuss. What I do discuss is that...
So you support transgender people?
I support individual liberty. I'm a libertarian.
Yep.
So you support transgender people?
Sure.
Yeah, you want to be trans, go for it.
Exactly, yeah.
But my point is, as a whole, you're saying that I'm saying I don't want to see men in dresses. I'm saying no.
You support gay people?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a large contingent of men in the world who like the idea of the traditional masculine view of the world, who feel happy when they watch 80s action heroes with big muscles and they run around. And there's nothing toxically masculine about having a fast car and a beautiful girlfriend and making a bunch of money. And
nothing at all.
Absolutely. And those are the people who are my fans.
But the problem is, okay, I'm going to interrupt you just to say this.
Okay, but you're saying that I have a problem with men in dresses. I'm saying no. The people who watch my content.
That question you've answered.
Yeah, but the people who watch my content don't want to see men in dresses. Clearly, I don't wear a dress. That's the point I'm making.
That's not why they're watching your content. No. You're not wearing a dress.
No, but that's the point I'm making. That's the point I was making. There's a large contingent of men who are not interested in the things that perhaps the YouTube algorithm's trying to feed them.
I think there are lots look, when you support masculinity and masculine traits, I'm with you, right?
Okay, so you agree a man should protect and provide for a woman?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you agree if you were walking down the street with a woman, you'd be responsible with her safety?
Yeah.
Cool, absolutely. So if that woman wanted to walk alone...
I don't think I have authority over the woman as we do that.
Okay, so let me ask you another question, Piers, because we are professionals. Let's say your woman decided she wanted to take a nice little walk through the south side of Chicago at 2 a.m., and she wanted you to go with her, and you were responsible for fighting and dying on the spot if she was attacked. Don't you think you would say to her, no, we're not going out right now, it's not safe?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have authority to make the decision. So
no, I wouldn't.
So
I would say, I don't think you should. If she decides to, it's her own volition.
Well, if she decides, you're not going to stop her.
I have no power to stop her.
Completely.
But you think you do.
No, I don't think I have power to stop her.
You clearly do.
No, I think I have power to make the decision. I think, no, that's not sensible.
So if you have the power to make the decision, you have the power to stop her.
No, because you can't stop.
That's where we differ. That's why I think it's interesting. I don't think you really think through what you're saying.
I think through what I'm saying so carefully.
Yeah, but Andrew, what you literally just said is that you have the power to stop.
No, I said
no,
I don't
he
have
said
the
he
power
doesn't.
To stop her.
Oh
I'm not
my
lock
God!
Her in the room. I'm saying that.
So if she wants to go on her own,
then she's going to go.
Then you don't have authority to stop her.
Okay, but as a couple, if we're going to sit there and decide if we're going to take this,
you asked me, would I feel a sense of responsibility for her safety? Absolutely.
Agreed.
Oh my
absolutely.
God,
so
would
let me
I
finish,
have the
Piers.
power or authority to stop her doing it? No.
No, of course not. So let me finish, Piers. You're not going to stop her walking out the hotel. Of course, it's her decision. She's a sovereign individual. My point is that usually in a couple, you sit there as a team and you discuss, and perhaps on certain issues, the woman will know more about X and she'll decide X, and the man might know more about Y and he'll decide Y. So I'm saying if we're as a couple and we're sitting there and deciding, as a couple, as a team, and she says she wants to take this late night stroll, I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to veto this one. I'm going to call veto.
Do you believe in...
It's dangerous, which to a degree would give me, in that particular scenario, a degree of authority. If she said, I don't want to listen to you, Andrew,
it doesn't give you authority.
If she says, I don't want to listen to you,
Andrew,
Andrew, I want
to
to
the end of this.
Then what can I do? Say, well, then
you don't have authority.
Then we don't have a relationship.
My love.
Then you don't have authority.
Cool. He also doesn't have...
Not really.
I think
it's the complete opposite of what you said you had, which was authority.
No problem, Piers. No problem. But I think
we're arguing over a word,
What do you believe about depression? Do you believe depression is a real thing?
I believe that feeling depressed is real. I don't believe depression as a clinical disease is real, no.
Really?
Correct.
You don't believe people can be clinically depressed.
I think PTSD is very real. Unfortunately.
Do I believe in mania depression? Yeah, of course. Manic depression, I think that's what it's called. Or mania or manic, I'm not sure. But basically, like, that's the clinical depression, I believe. However, I don't believe that so many people have so much, like, depression that they are all clinically depressed. No. Can you be slightly depressed, like a negative vibe? Yes. However, it is true that between 1924 is one of the highest suicide rates, I believe, amongst men, but like overall, I think 19 to 24 or something like that is one of the highest suicide rates, if not the highest, across the board. And I read statistics like a while ago. I'm not gonna look it up, but like, and the reason I think it's not even because of depression, I think it's just because of stress and anxiety and lack of direction in the world. I don't even think that has to do with depression. So to an extent, I agree. I don't believe that's like everyone who says like I'm depressed are actually depressed. Go and do shit. Like stop wallowing in your room. Go and do shit. However, if you're actually like your hormonal levels are so fucked up that you are clinically depressed, that's something else. However, if you're just feeling down because of something, no, go start moving around, pretend to smile, pretend you're okay, and guess what? Fake it till you make it, and you will.
I have some friends who suffer from that. I know that feeling depressed is real. I believe that the number one power you have against these things are trying to take control of your own mind and affecting your own life.
Yep.
I believe that it's not healthy to hand over all your power and believe that depression is an outside disease that you can't affect. I know that when I've had difficult periods in my life, and also many of my friends, like I've said, suffer from PTSD and been through terrible things.
Yeah.
I've lived a very difficult life.
Go
and I know
do
people
shit.
who have. That the things that made them feel better is when they woke up and said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to damage me anymore. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to get up and I'm going to fight this as hard as I can.
And by the way, on that, I agree.
So we agree.
Right? My favorite speech is the Rocky Balboa one.
Okay, so then we agree.
No,
we didn't.
Here's where we don't agree.
The way you say it.
Hang on. You got to let me interject when I don't agree with you, right? Where I don't agree with you is that there's no such thing as clinical depression. There absolutely
I don't
is.
agree on that as well.
It's a proven scientific medical
I
reality.
believe there is clinical depression.
There's a different argument about have we gone a bit too soft, right? In schools and all the rest of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Do I think some people moan and whine too much about their lot in life?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Are we a victimhood society? 100%.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as clinical depression? Absolutely. And my argument is that if you actually bracket everybody who's not clinically depressed and doesn't have the genuine medical condition, then actually if millions of people are deemed to have depression, the ones who really need the help don't get it. Well, that's my point.
Well, that I would agree with. You're right. I think it's certainly an overused term.
You don't accept there is such a thing as clinical depression.
No, I don't.
And that to me is a damaging view.
Okay. Well, let me explain why. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person. Stop accepting you have no control over this. And what you need to do is stop identifying that way, and let's work together to try and fight against it.
There isn't an eminent doctor in the world who would tell you there is no such thing as clinical depression.
The thing is, so this is what I do agree with Tate. Now, is there clinical depression? Yes. But as with most illnesses, a lot of them can be, in a sense, self-cured. Right? Ooh, too bright. A lot of them can be self-cured. Right? It's like, I have a cold. Rest. Right? I don't feel like energetic. Move around, you'll get energetic. So in that regard, I would agree. Yeah, maybe there is a way, like mentally and physically, get yourself to do stuff. Because whatever caused your depression, like clinical depression, which basically fucked up your hormones, you should be able to revert it. Same with like if you're diabetic, fasting can cure or like improve your diabetes, right? Proven scientifically. I'm not giving diet advice or anything like that. So whatever got you to the depressed state, you might be able to do something to get you out of it without medical assistance. Not saying that you will 100% do it. He's believing that's like it's possible, and that's the difference. Do you need medication? I would say it's a very contested argument right now. I would say most professionals say yes, but we all know that you build dependency on serotonin, and then like your body will have a hard time producing it, and you'll basically always be in a shittier state without them. It's very hard to get off serotonin and epinephrines.
He would not tell you that some people is simply beyond their control.
Johann Hari wrote a book saying exactly that, my friend.
He's not an eminent doctor.
No, but he's
a journalist.
I said depression wasn't real long ago and was attacked for it. Then Johann Hari wrote a book which
What's
actually...
What's going to do with Johann Hari?
Because he wrote a book proving me right. Most people...
Johann Hari's a journalist.
Sure. And my point is that a lot of people who are clinically depressed are suffering with something in their life.
He's the journalist, but where did he get the data? You know? He's making the journal from something. He had to have data.
Fix the problem in their life. Perhaps they won't feel depressed anymore. That's not a disease.
Yeah, but Andrew...
That's situational.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers,
it's what I believe.
I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers
that would agree with it.
Piers,
I think you know more than doctors.
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps, but if it allows me to live a life where I feel happy and content within myself.
This is that little area
where
you
lose
me.
No, I don't lose you.
You are, because somebody with your
Piers,
following
the
says
thousands of people who have emailed me saying my doctor told me I was clinically depressed and it's a disease that I have got in my brain and I can't be fixed.
Yep.
I started listening to you and I realized that that's not the case and I can fix my own
they
life.
Took action.
You're the only person who has ever helped me.
Oh, Andrew.
Thousands of people have emailed me that exact email.
If you think you are single-handedly curing people of clinical depression, you are living in cloud cuckoo land.
I am reading the emails of people who I have cured of clinical depression.
You're reading emails from people who have believed you when you say there isn't such a thing, and they've probably never been diagnosed clinically depressed. They just want to go along with what Andrew Tate says.
Sure.
I don't think so.
I think your view of that is dangerous.
I respect that you think my view is dangerous, and I respect you have the right to view that, to think that. I think.
First of all, why is it dangerous? Why is it dangerous? Because the clinical people will stop taking their meds? If the meds are not working, trying something new is not necessarily dangerous. And then, like, worst case, you just go back to the meds, right? It's like, well, it didn't work, fuck it. And I don't consider this specifically dangerous, let alone clinical depression is extremely not prevalent, as I believe, in teens. Depression, age demographic. What age group is most affected by clinical depression? Young and midlife adults. Onset for major depression disorders between 35 and 40 years old. Okay, so it's midlife crisis, if anything. Onset in early adulthood may be linked with more depressive episodes, a longer duration of illness, and therefore a more difficult clinical age groups and risk factors. Let's see. According to CDC data 2019, 21 of adults experience antidepressive symptoms. Again, antidepressive symptoms is not it. You want like clinical depression, because depressive symptoms mean nothing. In the most recent 2 weeks were between 18 and 29-year-old, basically when you start getting responsibility. 12% of US adolescents ages 12 to 17 had a depressive episode severe enough to cause significant impairment. Depression is less common in children. But again, see, the problem with this is it's like, is it because they're bullied? Is it because of social acceptance? And honestly, I believe social media would cause you to be a lot more depressed right now. It is what it is. So, I mean, sure, I'll give it to Piers. This could be dangerous, though I'm pretty sure these kids are not on medication, and telling them to take control over their life is probably what a parent would tell his kid, right? It's like, listen, yes, you're getting bullied. We're gonna get you to the gym. We're gonna get you to like martial arts. Not because you want him to beat them up, but you want him to be able to protect himself. Shit like that.
Clinical depression, I actually agree with you, is massively overdiagnosed. I've already said that PTSD is a very real thing. I've already said...
I didn't... hang on.
Okay.
Again, you're misquoting me. I did not say clinical depression is massively overdiagnosed. I said that people who claim to be depressed but don't have clinical depression, I think that is massively overblown, right? In other words, a lot of people who just have a bad day and declare, I've got depression.
Yeah.
And I say,
depression, anxiety, all that stuff.
Have you been clinically diagnosed?
Same with like anxiety is one of them. It's like I have panic attacks. Like, okay, some people actually do, and some people are just like, bro, like, no, you're not, right? It's like, I worked with the person and she always had like anxiety attacks, and it's like, no, you don't. It's like, well, I'm like super, like, I was like, no, you don't. It's like, I can't breathe. I'm like, try to relax. Right? And again, like, I'm not a doctor. Maybe she actually had stuff, but it's like, it usually didn't get to any point that is serious. She didn't have any medication for it or anything like that. And it usually happened when something actually happened, right? It's not like you have a panic attack out of nowhere. Again, I don't know enough about the subject to say yes or no, but it's like, I've met people just like, they're naturally more anxious than others. They care too much about others. I've been to university. I've seen people panic over exams, and it's like, yeah, sometimes you also gotta learn how to deal with pressure. Sometimes if you've been sheltered so much, you experience no fucking pressure or stress in your life for something, and then you go to university and it's like you feel like your life depends on this one test. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you might have a panic attack. Doesn't mean you have fucking anxiety disorder.
And you have clinical depression, that's one thing. But if you haven't, we could probably work on some mental strength and resilience skills with you. But a clinically depressed person has an absolutely proven medical condition that is beyond their control.
Not according to me and many others, my friend.
Well, look, what do you know about it, honestly?
I know.
You're not a doctor, you're not trained, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a psychiatrist, you're none of those things.
Sure.
You're a guy on the make, he's done very well for himself, spouting stuff off, much of which I agree with, as you've seen in the interview. But some of which is ludicrous, and that's one of them.
It's not ludicrous.
It is.
It's not.
If you said to me, we're in a victimhood society, it's got to stop, I'm with you.
Okay.
But the moment you try and deny clinical depression...
I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I told him, because I replied to my emails. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I've been on antidepressants, it doesn't work. I said, I don't know what to say to you besides this. And he said he lost his girlfriend, that's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a six-pack first. Once you've got a six-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. But I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a six-pack. He's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that. I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody.
No.
I'm just saying.
That's my question, though. Have you seen the guy's medical records?
Of course not. I just told you the
So
story.
you're just taking his word for it?
Oh, I am taking the words of a man who emailed me with a bunch of medication and specific
So you're
doses.
denying proven science because one guy writes to you who you help and you've not seen any
He's
evidence.
not denying, this is the thing though, he's not denying proven science. His belief is that it doesn't exist. Like some people who believe cancer doesn't exist and then they die of cancer, it happens. But their belief is that he doesn't believe in it. That's it. Like it's not, I don't think this is a very controversial topic. It's like, I don't believe in depression. Cool. Right? Some people believe the earth is flat. Cool. Good for you. Whatever. Go travel around the world. You know, maybe go to the fucking moon and see the world. I don't know.
Evidence you ever
Like,
had
it's not a big
depression
deal.
diagnosed.
I'm denying the idea that.
And on the back of it, you go on your
It's really not a big deal.
to tens of millions of people denying something because this guy writes to you and says he had it and you cured him. And I think that's a dangerous mindset, Andrew.
That's fine.
And that's where you don't have a responsible view of your influence over
Disagree.
people.
It's very responsible because I'm saving people's lives. I disagree that if you feel depressed, I disagree that you cannot affect it and change your life and take control and fix yourself and feel happier. I disagree with that.
Do you think
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. And I also will argue with you, and I'll counter the point that you sitting here on your platform telling people they have clinical depression, there's nothing they can do about it, is far more dangerous. Okay, well then, if they have clinical depression...
Why do you misquote me?
No, because you're saying...
You hate being misquoted.
No, you're saying if people have clinical depression,
I never said nothing to do about it. They go to a doctor and they get diagnosed and they get help.
Then I would argue the point that if
It's
somebody...
the opposite of what you just said I said.
I would argue the point that if somebody has depression of any kind, whether it's clinical, whether it exists or not, whether they feel depressed or not, whatever, that taking control of their life, taking personal responsibility, and working hard is always going to be the positive, best thing they can possibly do for their life going forward.
How
and the people
positive
going
is
around
it?
them. So sitting here saying, I don't believe in clinical depression, you don't believe in depression. No, I don't. I believe that people can take control and fight against things. Right. I believe in personal sovereignty.
Right. Fine.
Good. So we agree.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Piers, you're on my side. You're afraid of being cancelled along with me.
As I said to you from the start,
That's all
I agree with a lot of what you say.
Completely. So
But I'm taking you to task over
I love
stuff
that.
I don't agree with.
I love that Andrew Tate finally woke up. Holy fuck, man! It's been a while since he like raised his voice and actually like telling him he's telling him, "See, we agree." It's like, no, I don't agree. Yeah, you do. You just don't want to be cancelled.
Sure. And I'm just not sure you understand.
There's the Andrew Tate we all know,
which is in itself quite revealing. Let me talk to you about Alex. Let me talk to you about Alex Jones, right?
Oh,
Who I have a
God.
bit of history with. He tried to get me deported from the United States.
Here we go.
Yeah. What is your view of Alex Jones?
I think that Alex Jones is a sovereign individual who, very much like the rabid left, deserves a chance to speak on his points of view. I think that the truth on issues is usually somewhere in the middle between two extremes. And
So you think Sandy Hook was staged?
I don't know anything about Sandy Hook.
Really? You know he's just been sued by the families for millions and millions.
I have no idea.
You don't know anything about it?
No.
So why would you support someone in public when you know nothing about the most infamous
When
thing
have I
attached to
supported
it?
him in public?
You have supported him in public.
I've been on his podcast.
Yeah, but you said nice things about him.
I say nice things about lots of people.
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I said nice things about you, Piers.
That's fine. So you should. I'm a nice person.
To sit and say that I've been on a podcast and I say nice things about
But you
means
said
I
you support his right to speak about things
Yeah.
like Sandy Hook.
I don't know Sandy Hook. I don't know. And
You know what it was
it was a mass shooting.
of school children.
Okay, but to sit and
And
it's actually no. Let's stop for a second. Please don't interrupt me. Here's why I know why you're good at your job. First, you interrupt people a lot, which is good. It's a good skill,
Actually,
and there you go. Prove me right.
But here's
And the timing's
Called
good.
him
Here's
out.
exactly
Called
what I
him
do.
out.
I only interrupt people like you when you either refuse to answer the question or answer a completely different one.
Sure.
And I want to remind you of what the question was.
Fair enough, that's
Or
fair.
when you misquote me back, which you've done repeatedly through the interview.
No.
When you say, you see, Piers, you agree with me. And the viewer
The one
who's been
time.
watching will go, no, he didn't.
Cool, no problem.
The one
other
time.
thing you do is you try and set these traps like now. So you're saying
What's the trap you think I'm setting?
you're saying that I agree with every single point of view a man has.
There you
Literally
go.
didn't say that.
You're saying, well, you support
Yeah,
Alex Jones
Why
you're-
did you misquote me?
because you're saying you support Alex Jones and you.
It's not. He's misquoting, but it's like that was the intention. Look how pissed off he is right now. Like, oh, this fucking motherfucker. He's about oh, I'm gonna fucking murder him. Look how angry he is. Holy shit, bro. That's pure fucking hate right now. I know it's pure hate, but it does not look happy. Yeah, clearly what he was about to say is well, you said nice thing about Alex Jones. Alex Jones has the whole Sandy Hook thing. Do you still say nice things about him, bro? Alex Jones was nice to me. I don't know anything about Sandy Hook. From my experience, Alex Jones is a nice guy. That's literally his point of view. But this guy's no, Alex Jones did the Sandy Hook thing.
You said you've been on his podcast and he said this. I don't know
What do you think of Alex Jones?
I don't know everything he said.
What do you
Piers.
think of him?
I think on his podcast he was cordial. I think he was professional on his podcast. I've also done podcasts with rabid leftists and people who openly hate me.
Is it wrong?
I do a podcast circuit.
Okay.
So and I don't know everything he's ever said.
When somebody
and I don't know what you're trying to get here because I did a
If you let me
podcast.
get a word in edgeways, I'll tell you.
It's a lame trick.
If you let me get a word in, I will tell you.
Let's go.
Called him
Alex
out.
Jones said that Sandy Hook didn't happen. It was staged by actors.
Okay.
Cool.
This compounded the appalling grief of the families of those poor 20 children.
But clearly, why do you ask him if he doesn't know anything about it? What do you want him to say? I don't know anything about this.
Who were gunned to pieces by a lunatic with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle.
Okay.
They were already grief-stricken beyond belief, and this guy poured petrol onto that grief quite deliberately to make a huge amount of money from his InfoWars fake news bullshit. And as a result, a lot of the families have now sued him, and they've won, and he's going to have to pay back tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in damages to these families. And quite right, it won't do anything about the pain he caused them. Some of them actually had people turn up outside their houses with guns because Alex Jones had told them that these parents were making it all up. They were all staged actors. It was all run by the government. So I simply say to you, now I've told you that, what is your view of Alex Jones?
I don't see why any of that has to do with me. It's very interesting. I've done the guy's podcast. I know him well. He was professional and courteous to me.
Also, why is he trying to turn him against Alex Jones? What's the point? I don't think he's gonna take the bait. Like, why would he? It's like, I don't know anything about us. I know the details. I just know what you told me. To me, he was a nice guy and he was professional, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at. Like, there's nothing here that's like, what do you want to do? Say something bad about Alex Jones? So weird.
Show me respect, I show them back. Respect. That's what I do, as I did with you.
You respect him?
If somebody shows me respect, I show them respect back.
So if Adolf Hitler showed you respect, you'd respect him back.
That's a stupid question, Piers.
It's not. It's a logical extension of your argument.
No, if in 1931 I was walking through Germany and a man come up to me and said, sorry for bumping into you, I'd say, sorry, no problem, mate. I'd show respect back. I don't know, what are you trying to say? That I sanction the Holocaust?
You literally just said if somebody respects you, you respect them back.
I say if somebody shows me respect, I show respect back. That's a good way to go through life.
Whoever it is.
Yeah.
If somebody shows me respect and is courteous to me, I'm courteous back. Yes.
How can you respect somebody who caused such misery and pain to Sam?
I have no idea the specifics of the thing you're discussing.
Exactly.
I don't understand any of it.
I
don't know anything about it. You told me your version of events.
When did you go on the podcast?
I was on the podcast about four times in the last 4 years. I did one relatively recently.
So four times you went on Alex Jones's podcast.
Correct.
Promoting him, helping him make money.
I don't think it was promoting and helping him because...
Well, it's his podcast.
Well, yeah, but I've been on the podcasts of people who absolutely hate me. I've been on liberal left-wing podcasts. I've been on feminist podcasts. And no, you just sat here saying I would like you to agree, perhaps we can agree on this point, that I'm not a feminist. I go on feminist podcasts. I do a podcast circuit.
You're not a feminist?
No, I don't know.
What do you think a feminist is?
Well, let's not change subject here, Piers. Stay on the line.
You mentioned feminism.
Completely.
Oh my God, dude, Jesus Christ, Piers. I think Piers realized how much he lost this point, and Andrew Tate is not falling for this really obvious and dumb trick, and he's trying to just like, well, let's talk about feminism.
Because what you did is you're trying to say, because I did a podcast, I sanction all of this person's views. And I'm saying I do 5 podcasts a week. I do 5 podcasts a week, and I don't sanction 100% of the views of any other person
That's
on the
the
planet.
Andrew Tate
because I'm an individual, and he has an individual views, as do you. So I don't know why you're trying to come at me with one of his views and pretend that's something to do with me.
It's a pretty big view.
No, but it's a lame trick, Piers, and you're better than this. So let's move on.
Would you,
it's lame, and let's move on.
Had a podcast, would you go on it?
Sure.
You would? Great. Okay, let me know what you're talking about.
If who?
Had a
trick to come at me with one better than this. So let's move on.
Would you?
It's lame.
Vladimir Putin. Bro,
had
of course.
Podcast, would you go on it?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, let me know what you're talking about.
If Vladimir Putin had a podcast, I'd go on it. If Joe Biden had a podcast, I'd go on it. If a feminist has a podcast, I'll go on it. If Piers Morgan has a podcast, I'll go on it.
If it's an interesting conversation, he would go on it. Fuck, why not? It's a publicity for him. It's like you're saying that he added to Alex Jones' views. Maybe Alex Jones added to his views. Like, what the fuck? It's a mutual fucking thing. What's wrong with my camera though? Like, it's kind of looks weird.
I don't see the point you're making.
Yeah.
There's no point here. You're digging, but there's nothing to find.
Well, I'm not. I'm taking your position that if somebody shows you respect them.
I think
for the conversation,
the world, I do not respect. If Vladimir Putin showed me respect, I would not respect him.
Does this guy ever seen like war negotiations? Okay. Oh my God. What a face to look at. Okay. Are you telling me that, like, let's say there's there's hostilities between Russia and US, and Vladimir Putin's meeting the US president, be it Joe Biden or Trump, depends on the time, right? Are you telling me that they should not show courtesy and respect to one another even though they're enemies? This is such a dumb fucking point. What are you even talking about? No matter like how much you don't like a person, if the person is respectful and courteous to you, there's no reason for you not to be respectful and courteous and still not like the person. It doesn't matter. It's called being an adult and not like wearing your emotions on your fucking sleeve and showing all of your cards.
That's your opinion, but
no, it's my view. What's
okay, that's your view. Well, your
view is you would.
Oh
you're sitting here, Piers, saying that I'm on an uncensored show. And in your intro, you said that it's important that we don't have echo chambers and we have varying and that we have varying opinions.
Correct.
But then you're saying the people you don't like, you wouldn't go on their podcast.
No.
So you are a hypocrite.
No.
I will go on anybody's podcast at any point.
I don't think you understand what censorship means, do you? Like a lot of words we've had problems with today.
You're just saying
What do you think censorship means?
No, but the
silencing.
point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah.
What do you think censorship means?
Don't hide from the fact that you're saying you will only do podcasts with people you like.
Why do you think that's censorship?
No, that's your prerogative. My prerogative is
Let's do with censorship.
I'll discuss opinions with anybody, and I've done hard left wing. Why are you not asking me about the podcast I've done for the people who are hard liberal
By the
left
way,
wing?
I don't care whether they're left or right.
Okay.
Well, you care about the Alex
To me,
Jones.
all nuts, right?
Then we agree.
Yes.
So perfect.
Good.
So what's the
subject.
problem?
All right, here's my next subject. It's a very
There you
serious
go.
case here.
Jesus, and before you move on, sorry, Piers, but before you move on, I do find it kind of disingenuous, and I know we're on a show, and I don't have a personal problem with you, but it is kind of disingenuous to try and sit here and lump me in with some school shooting. That's nothing to do with me.
Yes.
That's nothing to do.
You did.
On any level.
You did.
On any level.
Good job. Good job calling him
Been
out.
on this podcast 4 times
In 4 years.
since
In
he
4
said
years.
the whole thing was staged.
I don't know what he
And I think the fact that a smart guy like you wants me to believe you had no idea that Alex Jones, who's been in the news now for the last 2 years,
maybe
has
he's not
been sued by these
interested, though.
families for the most heinous thing imaginable of pouring petrol onto their grief by claiming that.
Bro, I know of Alex Jones for so long, and the first time I heard about Sandy Hook was like a few weeks ago when the trial was up. And even then I didn't know about Sandy Hook. Even now I don't know everything about Sandy Hook. Or like more than half of it I don't know. I get the gist of it. I don't know any truth about it. I don't know what Alex Jones said. I don't know the timelines. I don't know. I know he apologized for some of the stuff he said. I don't know anything. But I know of Alex Jones for multiple times. And even if for some odd reason I would go on his podcast, you bet I won't be researching any contentious point that he ever made, because he makes a lot of them. So asking him about Sandy Hook is just unfair, especially when he just said at the beginning, yeah, I don't know anything about this, but you've been on this podcast 4 times. Okay, what's your point?
That shooting was staged. The fact that you're pretending you didn't know about any of that.
But he didn't.
Been on his podcast 4 times, supporting him and making him money. So damn right I'm going to call you out on it.
When I do a podcast, if you think I spend time analyzing the point of view of that person and everything they've ever said for years
No, he shouldn't.
beforehand.
It's not years, it was
No.
minutes in most cases.
Okay, why should he? He's not making an interview and have questions lined up. He's not doing your job, Piers. He just goes on the podcast to have a conversation, whatever the conversation's about. Maybe sometimes they agree what the conversation is about, and that's it. He's not doing a fucking interview, let alone trying to set someone up, Piers.
Years.
When did you last go on his podcast?
You trying to lump me in and attack me for a person whose podcast I do having a view is absolutely childish. Because I've done a bunch of podcasts with people. I've done a bunch of podcasts with people who are advocating for things that I do not agree with on every single level. In fact, most of my podcasts are me disagreeing with people. So it's completely crazy that you're trying to lump me in with that. That's cheap. That's cheap.
You are completely misconstruing the point of what
everyone knows exactly what you were trying to do here, Piers. Everyone knows exactly what this was about.
I think deliberately.
No, what you're trying is a cheap trick, and I'm just making it clear to the audience.
Cheap trick. I'm just curious where your moral line is.
It's a cheap trick.
Where's your moral line?
What do you mean moral line? What does that have to do with anything? Bro, are you kidding me? Moral line. Jesus Christ. Remember like when Ben Shapiro said like Piers would dance on the graves of kids or something like that? Where's your moral line?
Disagree with the points of view with the majority of the people I do podcasts with. So it's a very cheap trick you're trying here. So
when people invent vile things.
Yeah, move on, man. Straight up.
Off the back of families of little kids who've been blown to pieces with a machine gun or a semi-automatic version of a machine gun. I think that is actually a line I wouldn't cross. I wouldn't be happy to go on someone's podcast when they've been responsible for doing that. It's not about political views or differences of opinion over facts. It's about somebody deliberately inventing a pack of lies to compound the grief of families. And
it depends what, like, I can say that about very multiple things that are very popular right now that I don't want to mention because I don't want to be canceled before I even make it. But you can say that same exact sentence on a lot of different topics right now. And,
I'm curious, you don't think you have...
I would still have a conversation.
To go down any
if
kind
it's
of
interesting
moral
to me.
quandary about people like that before you continue to allow them to use you for their own promotion.
He didn't use me. He didn't use me.
Why is he having you on the podcast?
Was a
Because we
mutual
disagreed and discussed points like we're doing with you right now.
Did you call him out on that?
Are you using me? We didn't discuss that.
I'm not using. I'm giving you a platform most people aren't giving you right now to show the world who you really are.
Fantastic. So neither of us are using each other. I'm here on your show. I'm providing you with content. You're giving me a platform. And nobody's using each other. It's mutual. We don't agree on a whole bunch of issues.
That's fine.
And here we are.
I think we've had a robust exchange.
Yeah, just like I've done on nearly every other podcast. And if someone were to come and say to me in the future that something, heaven forbid, there's a skeleton in your closet, and someone were to come to me and say, you were on Piers Morgan's show, did you know he's X or he's done X? I would say that's absolutely nothing to do with me.
Right. But
I make the same point protecting you. I don't know what you do. I don't know your personal life.
I can guarantee one thing. I will not be inventing stories about the families of.
I hope you're a righteous person.
I'm not claiming to be a righteous person.
I don't know.
I'm just saying that I just think it's interesting that you have no moral compulsion about going.
Like, what do you want to say?
It's about I don't know what you do, Piers. You could have a bunch of skeletons in your closet, my friend. I don't have a clue. I'm here on your TV show.
I'm sure we all have lots of skeletons. Let me ask you this.
Such a dumb question.
Interesting about the feminism thing.
Sure.
Do you identify as a feminist?
I think that women and men are fantastic. Both of us are fantastic. I think women reproduce. I think women need to be respected, protected, provided for.
Yep.
I think that modern feminism is kind of hard for me to even truly understand.
What do you think it means? What is feminism?
I think that the idea of feminism is that men and women are equal under the law.
And do you believe that?
Completely.
We should be treated completely equal.
Yeah, but we are equal under the law. Wouldn't you agree?
Not really. I think there's still some issues in the world where, I mean, certainly in workplace, the gender pay gap.
In the Western world, I want to, not like around the world, but Western world, first world countries, women and men are equal under the law. When he's going to bring the wage gap, and I was like, bro, if the wage gap was a real thing, more businessmen would hire women. Even though they are hiring them now, but it's like, you would have almost no men working anywhere.
Remains. They're not treated equally in most cases, women?
Well, that can be discussed, the gender pay gap. I think that's already been discussed at length. I think that
You think women should go to work?
I think women should work completely.
You do?
Why wouldn't they?
Because in the parts of the country, of the world you were mentioning earlier, that have different views of women.
Oh my God.
In the parts of the world that person from the podcast was from, for the point I made, yeah, they didn't. But I don't live in those parts of the world. I think women should be free to work if they choose. I think it's very important that the family unit remains. I do believe that in my personal view, the most important and respectful thing a woman can do is become a mother. I think that having children is a beautiful thing. But obviously, if a woman wants to work and wants to have a career, especially now with paternity leave or maternity leave, and she can manage to do both, why wouldn't I want women to work? I don't know why anyone would ever assume I don't want women to work or think women can't work, because I said that I should keep them safe sometimes.
Good.
It's interesting because you have to look at this, Piers. It's interesting how people extrapolate. Andrew said that he's responsible for a woman's safety, and he said that gives him authority to make decisions for her safety, and that's been misconstrued, and he's a bad person. He believes that women are property. But now we believe that Andrew doesn't believe in love. Andrew doesn't believe women should work. I don't know where all of that comes from.
Well, that's why I'm glad we've had a chance to discuss
completely.
it.
I believe women are sovereign individuals, and they can make any choice they so desire. I think that it's important that we remember that a man has a duty. I think I certainly in my relationship have a financial responsibility to provide for my woman. My woman would never have to work unless she wanted to, because I'm the kind of person who works hard enough that she wouldn't have to.
Should young men, though, all aspire to be like you?
Should young men aspire to work very hard, have no criminal record, become multimillionaires, protect and provide for the women close to them, be sovereign so they can stand up and have their own points of view in face of cancellation. Be able to not be mentally intimidated when they go on national TV and there's traps set up for them. Yeah, I believe that confident, strong men who stand up and protect and provide for women are a good thing for the world and a good force for the world. And I don't think that I put a magic spell on anybody. I think there's a whole bunch of men in the world who understands my value. And if men grow up...
Is he the perfect man? No. But why would he say something that's like... This is such a trick question. It's like, why do you think you're the best fit for the job? Because I know what the fuck I'm doing and I'm better than others. Is it actually true? In my opinion, it is. Right? It's like, so you're asking him, it's like, do you think you're living the perfect life? You're the perfect example for a man. Well, if he didn't think that, he wouldn't be who he is. He would have to be somebody else who does think that. That's so, like, it's such a trick question for no reason.
To be like me, you're going to have a whole bunch of people with no criminal record, dedicated athletes, who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy, And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Little Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, perhaps. Now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you say they could be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive and misogynist.
Okay,
sure.
So they offended you. Like I said earlier, so they offended you, which is fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not the devil. There are certainly worse people than me, and they exist. And I'm saying that my core tenets for the people who don't understand me are self-accountability, so I'm accountable for everything I've ever said. My core tenets are responsibility, so I'm responsible for everything I've said. My core tenets are traditional masculinity to a degree, which involves protecting and providing for women. And I'll make another point here that needs to be said. The number of women who have stood up and stuck up for me is ignored. Thousands of women are making videos saying, I've met Andrew Tate, he's such a nice guy. I wish I had a man like Andrew Tate who felt
multiple videos
to protect and provide for me. You know what? I do belong to my husband. That's why I married him and I love him. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true. And we're taking a very vocal minority who have taken the things I've said and are pretending to be absolutely and utterly devastated by them for some reason.
All right. Time out.
Sure.
You've had a good run there.
Sure.
An inquest this week found that a 14-year-old girl, Molly Russell, died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and the negative effects of online content. The coroner said she was exposed to material that may have influenced her in a negative way, and in addition, what started as depression had become a much more serious depressive illness, and she very sadly took her life.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Right. Her father's campaign for better protections against potentially dangerous social media algorithms.
The 14-year-old.
Says that the particularly
Bro, I bet this 14-year-old commit suicide. Sorry, I'm yawning. It is sad. Obviously, 14-year-olds should not be committing suicide. They haven't experienced anything yet. Like, their whole life is literally ahead of them, and it is actually sad. But the videos that 14-year-old was watching was probably TikToks of certain aspirations that she would not achieve, be it genetically or just because of her like heritage and or like financial situation. You're gonna see like TikToks and Instagram of like these Instagram model with fake tits, fake everything, and all these guys drooling over them, and she's not getting anywhere near the attention. That can be depressing, knowing also that's like she will likely never ever be that popular. That can also be depressing, right? Like, depends on the person. So we don't know why she committed suicide, what kind of videos she was watching.
Content she saw romanticized acts of self-harm, normalized her condition, and focused on a limited and irrational view without any counterbalance of normality. First of all, what is your response to that? Nothing to do with you.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is... The world we live in, the fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad.
Yeah, 14-year-old, man, that's fucked up, man.
Like the fact that they just said it's romanticizing the gory element. I don't know what she was watching, some kind of suicide videos thing. I don't know where these things are created.
Do you think the tech companies should be much tougher about stuff like this?
I don't know what kind of things she watched, obviously.
It's hard
I have to be a professional here. I think
also like how people perceive certain things is different. It's like saying video games cause real life violence. Meanwhile, a lot of research shows the opposite, right? So it's like, it's hard to say what really caused her suicide. Just because she's watching social media doesn't mean that life outside social media is great for her as well.
That the tech companies need to do their best to protect people, I guess, to a degree, but it's a slippery slope, isn't it? And then they use this slippery slope.
Oh, so that's why he's
some people and
that's why he brought it. Kind of like, should social media censor certain content that is harmful to young men, even though the subject at hand has nothing to do with him? He's making it something to do with him in terms of censorship.
And I think it's a really fine line, and it's a complicated line.
It is very.
I was interested when you did an interview with the Times.
I would say it's kind of like again, this doesn't solve the problem, but like how porn sites have like you have to be 18 or 21, whatever, to watch this and stuff like that. I think there needs to be a verification of age for content online for certain content. Okay, like if you have your age of birth on your account for whatever you're logged into, it would know your age. Can you fake this? Yes. Asking you for confirmation, for example, every time you want to watch like content that is like specifically for older age, you can make it so like every time you watch the content, you have to input information. Now, can you fake it? Yeah, but how tedious is it for every video of like for like adults that you have to watch? It would have to make you verify your age, right? Like literally put in the date, put in the name, like all that shit. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. Not even name, but like just put in your date of birth every time for every video. I think like especially with how kids are now, I think it will be way too tedious for them, and a lot less of them will be watching it unless it's something that's like super popular.
Rifkin, he's a very good journalist. We did a big interview with him, and it was interesting to me his conclusion, because he kind of concluded that although he found a lot of the things he said awful and offensive, and he didn't like them, and he didn't want to be that kind of person that would say those kind of things, nor could he actually work out exactly what you'd done, which deserved mass wipeout by all the tech firms.
No one can. It's never one specific thing.
I don't know the answer to that, other than the reason I mentioned the Molly Russell case, not because that has anything to do with you at all, and I reiterate that.
Thank you.
So I simply ask you this.
For the censorship
what has
aspect.
Come clear to me in the interview is that a lot of things you say you wouldn't say now that you've said before.
But I'd say them differently, perhaps.
Yeah. Right. So to me, that's an acceptance. Not just that you want to get back on platforms, because maybe that was one of the reasons you were no platform, but that you've recognized and understood the potential harm to the wrong kind of impressionable mind by some of the things you've said. Would that be fair?
I think that's 80% fair. I recognize and understand that with massive fame, you have to be more careful about being misconstrued. Like I said earlier, 1% of people misunderstanding you doesn't matter with a small audience. It matters with a very large audience. With power comes responsibility. I still believe the things I say. I do not want to be a negative force for the world. I also understand that I am a man who's lived a very difficult, nuanced life, and I am capable of making nuanced points that may be misunderstood by teenagers. However, that can be said about anybody and everything. Every opinion online can be misunderstood by children. Trying to protect children from the internet is a very interesting subject in and of itself, because I would argue that 80% of the content on the internet can be negative or detrimental to a young mind that doesn't
easily.
Understand the world. I'd argue that all of it. We just talked about music videos and dance.
Some people were arguing video games are detrimental to to young kids and causes them to commit suicide and all that shit. Yeah, you can make any argument you want. Really, the data is not there to support it, so it doesn't matter.
On the devil, and all this stuff. All this stuff is dangerous.
By the way, I think you make a very good point on that. So a lot of these rap stars, the lyrics, the videos, I think far exceed anything that you've been
over-sexualizing women, over-sexualizing men. This is all a problem, right? I don't want to go too deep into that because I'm definitely going to say something that's like I shouldn't say online.
Accused of doing
completely,
because in a lot of cases some of them promote non-consensual activity with people, right? And I just think that crosses a line you have, as far as I've seen, you haven't crossed that line.
No, I haven't, and this is the thing, and I've been vilified not because of the things I say, because
I'm not gonna say it online, like unless I am challenged to, kind of like I'm not gonna offer my neck on a platter, but I will offer my neck for like if there's an actual argument about the subject. Yes.
More extremist content already exists on the internet. I think the reason I've been attacked and vilified is because of the popularity, because I became so massively famous, not because of what I was actually saying. So as a professional, I analyze that and I understand that, okay, I'm massively famous now and certain things have been taken out of context. However, I still do believe I'm a force for good in the world, and I'm not going to sit here
Have you changed though?
No.
It's not about changing.
Well, why would he? We're all involved in an evolution. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
36, right? I bet you're a different person to what you were when you were 26.
Oh, that's absolutely,
16,
that's absolutely.
So we all change. And Mike, you keep talking about being a good person.
But not like a month or two.
If you're honest with yourself, that you can see why people found a lot of the stuff you've said problematic and misogynist. And I think you recognized you wouldn't express yourself in that way again because you've understood that it's caused a lot of harm. And that's really what I wanted to get to today, was an acknowledgement by you that these things clearly were said in the wrong way, created the wrong impression. If you
one or two words here and there that just like people purposefully misunderstood. It's literally all that happened. Like all this proved to me is that there was like one bad word that like completely confused people.
didn't mean them the way you intended them, and can therefore have a malevolent influence when you have a huge following.
Yeah, when you have a huge following, you certainly have to be a lot more careful about how you get certain points across.
Sure.
That's absolutely a fact.
Andrew,
that's the only thing. That's the only thing Andrew Tate really agrees on. It's like, yeah, a lot of the things that like people are misconstruing, and he said before he was very famous, and now that he's more famous, he wouldn't say those things to that extreme. They won't be as buzzy. They won't be as hard hitting as they were before because he's bigger now. Yeah, of course, he was building his audience.
Coming all the way from Romania.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting conversation, and I thank you for having me.
Cheers, Frank.
Well, that's it from me. Whatever you're up to, keep.
I didn't even show the handshake. Overall, what do I think? I think, dude. So here's the thing: people are saying, like in the preview, Asmongold made a video where it's like Andrew Tate looks like a bitch and stuff like that. I think the first maybe 30 minutes, it took like him a while to like wake up, but I think he was like kind of like. I think he just lost his patience because Piers became less and less. He first of all became too aggressive, and also he was purposefully misrepresenting what Andrew Tate was saying and trying to connect him to things that had nothing to do with him. And at some point I saw like he kind of like when I said like, oh, he woke up, he had enough of this bullshit, and he did start calling him out on a lot of shit. He was still very respectful, he was still very patient, didn't let his emotions burst like a lot of male children would do these days. I think overall, if you want to be like, oh, who won this conversation, Andrew Tate by far. A lot of the points Andrew Tate made are pretty logical. Agree or disagree with with how he approaches life and stuff like that, that's another thing. But he made his point clearer. He clarified the misunderstandings. I think he did an excellent job overall. Well, not excellent, but he did a good job overall. Piers Morgan tried many times to misrepresent what is being said, what is written, what the context is on purpose. And again, that is his job. He has to do it. And also, for him to misrepresent the context, I think it's actually fair game. Because if the clip that you see is exactly what Piers Morgan is reading, that is a fair argument to say, even though this is out of context, this is on the internet, this is affecting people. So him sticking to that point was not fair, but him making that point was totally fine with me, in my opinion, like to begin with. But yeah, he still made kind of like, I wouldn't say a fool out of himself, but it's like he's too aggressive, as if he tried to like destroy Andrew Tate for no real reason. He's not gonna get anything out of it, in my opinion. The man's already like, if you think about like in terms of the man's already cancelled, right? Obviously he's gonna get a ton of views out of this interview, but he's gonna get a lot of hate views. I don't know if like someone who's already as reputable as Piers Morgan wants even more hate views. Similar to like how he got hate views after the Ben Shapiro thing. I didn't even know about Piers Morgan after Ben Shapiro, and after the Ben Shapiro thing, he kind of like went silent. I think he also lost his job or something like that. I don't know if that was before or after. I don't know if he walked off or like he quit or like he was fired from the TV station that he was on. And I haven't heard anything interesting about Piers Morgan up until the Andrew Tate thing. Like, he kind of died down. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna get a spike out of this, but it's like, if you just get negative vibes to watch you, that doesn't last very long. Not a lot of people are gonna keep watching you for this. But anyways, yeah, that is the stream. I'm gonna post this also on YouTube. Full length. This is gonna be the longest video I've ever posted, aside from like pure streams. And yeah, that's my thoughts. In my opinion, Andrew Tate did a fine job. Piers Morgan did his job, but then he also was a bit too aggressive. Overall, I don't think anyone, aside from people who just love canceling others because they don't agree with them, I don't think anyone who's like a mature adult thinks that Andrew Tate deserves to be more banned than specific certain individuals, such as, well, you have the Iranian guy, whatever they were saying, I don't even know. There you have terrorist organizations using social media, and let's be real, a lot more harmful things for kids is out there on the internet, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok than Andrew Tate ever was. I think if you're a grown-ass adult who knows anything about anything and is not an ideologue who is totally fine with canceling for no reason aside from you hating somebody, I think you would agree that Andrew Tate probably should not have been banned. But, you know, who am I to make such a decision? I'm a nobody. And we're going to end with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bloop.